Hello, Counter-Strike fans. Welcome back to another episode of HLTV Confirmed. Once again, I am joined by Striker and Prof and our favorite producer who's been fired about a million times now, Lucas, who has warned us that due to the heat, he may get fired again this evening. Now, with that, I was going to ask Prof and Striker how they were doing, and I'm sure the response would have been, it's hot and we don't have air conditioning. Is that the response, guys?
He has air conditioning. I don't, but it's actually not been that bad for the past 2-3 days. So, no, it's not the response.
Prof, are you fine? Are you happy? Is everything good? Oh, Prof's muted, so that we're off to a good start here. I can see it in TeamSpeak directly in front of me that he is muted, and now he's unmuted. I'm going to do this tweet. Hold up, entertain yourself. I'm getting this out to the internet so people come and join. Prof, are you good?
Yeah, I'm good.
All right, well, I want to whack a link on here because I'm getting a warning now about branded content. Tips to maintain eligibility. You're eligible to use branded content tag. Shut the fuck up, Instagram. Anyway, they've just ruined it. They've just given me some warning and that thing's done. Anyway, today's focus is going to be around ESL1 Cologne. You can see the toolbars that we got at the bottom there. Now, we're going to be doing some of the more recent news that's been happening. We're going to talk about, we're going to do a top 3 of ESL1 Cologne because ESL1 Cologne, this is the 5th year that it has been going on of this kind of grandeur, and I think that a common consensus is this is one of the absolute best events in the whole year. We're going to be focusing on the good things, the good teams, the bad, which doesn't necessarily mean bad players or bad teams. It might just be like a view on like bad Fallen, for example. The ugly, which doesn't actually mean that anybody is ugly. It just means things that could get a little bit more interesting, like the upsets that could be going on, and then we'll do the fantasy draft at the end of the evening. So, Mr. Lucas, the producer, pull up that first tweet and we'll get stuck into our first bit of news. This was a tweet from Alex from Vitality that came out making a bit of a question about the Krieg and where it's at. So, do we have that one to whack up? I'm going to do this.
The gist of it was that with the AUG now being nerfed, that the Krieg seems kind of overpowered. There's nothing to counter it in the current meta, and that's kind of an issue. Obviously, we didn't really see top tier teams play on this update yet, so from our perspective, it's hard to really judge. But people have been practicing with this for over a week, I guess now. So the insight is pretty interesting.
Yeah, I think like one of the things that came up was there were other people that replied to this tweet. So it wasn't just Alex. He's in a conversation with some guy there who has no idea what he's talking about. But people like Kassad and stuff chimed in, making comments. And I think that we could probably start to speculate on if we think that things are going to be swayed towards the T side. You're right, we haven't seen a huge amount of competitive play with it based on the fact that there haven't been any notable LAN events in this interim. But just theory crafting off of this. The AUG, if you've been using it, obviously it has it's more inaccurate and it has a slower fire rate now, right? So it's not just a 1-for-1 with the M4. The M4 is superior now in that regard, but the Krieg, they haven't adjusted the price, nor have they nerfed any of the capabilities that it started with. Now, the people have been arguing on whether they think the Krieg is balanced because it's so slow and the Ts need to move around a bit more, or the CTs are holding lines. But one of the things that I think that could happen is on certain maps, if the T takes control of an area, and they post up on an angle and they know a CT's there and he has to peek eventually, the Krieg or the SIG or the SG, whatever version of Counter-Strike you're playing from, the CT has just lost any advantage because now he has to swing in with a gun where he has to hit 2 shots, whereas the guy with the Krieg or the AK just has to hit the 1. So, Striker, do you think anything's going to come of this? We're going to see maybe this will be Cologne with a T-dominated meta. What are we thinking?
I mean, considering how much the SG has actually been used in the past, I don't know, a couple of events, where it's still, the AK is still quite a lot prevalent over the SG, quite a lot actually. I think it was like AK has maybe like 25% kills and then the SG has maybe like 10%. So unless like there's been a massive switch all of a sudden, which I don't expect, then I don't think it's going to be that bad as it's going to change like a meta towards the T side. At least not the SG itself. I feel like it's going to be more of the AUG nerf that's going to affect the meta rather than the SG being better on its own. So yeah, I don't think it's going to be that bad from the start unless like the popularity of the SG just starts rising quickly.
Prof, do you think any teams who were leaning on the org before, obviously JKS started having like his rise to like fame again, like his second wave of, hey, here I still am, and that's when the org was prevalent. Do you think there'll be a drop off with like maybe specific players, or think about it, Liquid have been at the top of their game ever since the org has been updated? Do you think this is something that teams have been reliant on, or do you think this is just the ebbs and flows?
I mean, I think some teams will be affected more, some less, but it's not going to be it's not going to be very easy to see and point a finger and say, okay, now this team is shit just because of the AUG, because there are too many things happening at the same time, like other teams becoming better in tactics, whatever, other teams having roster changes. So it's very hard to pinpoint stuff like this. I definitely think that Liquid won't be a team that's going to be like massively suffering because of the AUG or the Krieg. But a team like Renegades, obviously they're not where they were like 3 months ago when they reached like the top 5 ranking on HLTV. But they're a team where when it happened, it seemed like a team that doesn't have enough firepower to be a top 5 team. And then they kind of used AUG, I feel like, to just bridge that gap and get to where they were. And I think that kind of a team will kind of suffer from the AUG nerf.
Just what I said earlier, I'm going to clarify just to looking at the stats from Pro League Season 9 finals, where obviously a lot of the same teams that are going to be in Cologne were, and there it was like AK 33% of kills, and then the SG was 7.5%. So we can, from that, I think we can pretty safely say that the SG alone is not going to change the meta. Like I said, unless the popularity just suddenly shifts, which I don't see a reason for, considering only the AUG has been changed and not the SG, like you said. And especially it hasn't been improved. It's just stayed the same for basically the entire CSGO.
Just might be that the teams or players that already are using the SG will just be more, just play better, have more kills, have more impact on the game.
Yeah, it could be. I could see that happening for sure, yeah. I mean, I'm generally curious as to how somebody like Elish is going to answer to this, if he's still going to use the AUG in any capacity at all, because he's obviously made the switch a very long time ago, and I'm not sure if that like last week has been enough for him to change to the M4 completely, or if he's just going to stick with the AUG. But obviously he or anybody needed to adjust to the AUG anyway, because it's been changed quite heavily. So yeah, he's one that I'm going to be looking at in terms of like the top teams, because like I said, yeah, he's just changed such a long time ago that it's going to take him a while to adjust, I'm guessing. But then again, I said this last time, I don't think he will be, just because he's willing to put in the hours to test new weapons. So I'm sure he's just going to be willing to put in the hours to adjust back to the M4 pretty quickly.
So I'm just trying to bring this up now. Would anyone, let's just have this as a little bit of an experiment here, and we'll come back and we'll check in it when we do our podcast after Cologne is over. I'm just trying to find, did I say Pro League? After Cologne. I'm trying to find the Pro League stats from the LAN final. I'm just going to bring them up and see the percentages of the maps. And we'll see. I'll link that to Lucas. He can whack it up on screen. But what we'll do is, when I eventually find it, is we'll say one way or another if we think that maps overall are going to sway in more of a T-sided situation. Because yeah, I agree with the points you guys are saying here. I think there's certain players who did become a little bit reliant on the power of the AUG, and why the fuck not? It was great. It was getting it all done. It's just now I think
you can tell that they won duos that they shouldn't have won, and just gotten multi-kills that they shouldn't have gotten without the AUG. I'm saying shouldn't have, as if it was something wrong. Obviously, it wasn't. It was just the gun being popular. But compared to the gun being good, but compared to the M4, they wouldn't have never gotten like certain multi kills that they got with the AUG. So yeah, it's definitely going to change.
Prof has been ever so kind to link that to me, so if we can get Lucas to pull that up and just show the baseline there for what we're talking about. The majority of the maps are all pretty similar, besides Vertigo, obviously. Sorry, Prof, back to what you're saying.
Yeah, I mean, just wanted to touch. You just put the topic forward about the CT or T-sidedness of maps changing. The obvious map that everyone's going to be looking at now is Train, that with the AUG became like turbo CT-sided, which it wasn't before the start of this year. So not this, the other
Scroll
part
down just
there,
below it, Lucas, just below it.
And it's obscenely 60.4%. It doesn't look.
That's actually surprising. I didn't notice this at all.
When you look at the number at itself, it doesn't look that impressive, but it's just because it's hard to put these things into numbers because of this. You start on one side, you don't play 30 rounds, so sometimes the stats look weird. But
Well,
literally
it's
train
basically
became
an average of a 9.6 half.
yeah, but it's not even weird to see. Like 11-4 on the CT side is quite normal to see, and you can come back from that. It's not impossible at all. And it wasn't like that, I feel like, before.
Just a couple of things to note from this graphic, people, just so nobody gets misconstrued here. We don't want these to be 50-50. We don't want every map to be sitting there at 50-50. All we want to see is if there's a shift overall on the T sides to being stronger due to this org nerf and Krieg staying as it is. I think that obviously, like we just mentioned, Vertigo is the outlier and Train would be the outlier maybe in the other direction. So we'll see if there's any real sways with those two, if the T size for Vertigo goes higher or if Train goes lower. But I think with this one here, for people to notice, when we get into the Cologne preview, there's only there's all the teams here are pretty much fantastic teams, right? I think we're what is it, 15 out of the top 16 teams or something I read somewhere. 14, it's obviously 14. Yeah, so there's a lot of good teams here. So every game is going to have a lot of weight behind it. We should see a big diversity in map pools. We're not going to have any outliers where a team's getting 16-1, I hope, other than potentially that MVP. So these games here, we should get a really good idea of like how things are shifting or if they're shifting at all. So with this up, we could probably move forward to the next, our little breaking news situation. That's going to be another tweet. Do you have that one going here, Lucas? 30 seconds required here, so I'll just give a little bit of backstory to this. I barely caught any of this. I just caught Apex's tweet, and then I was busy fucking on a boat somewhere doing something else. I didn't actually see all the drama, and when I went to this tweet, half the shit is deleted. So I don't know.
I mean, I followed it. I followed most of it when it was going on, so I have.
You want to give a bit of context for us?
Well, basically, Alex came up with with this.
Apex was the original. Apex was the original tweet, but it's all gone now. All gone. Never happened.
Basically, what he said, they were just blaming each other for. Well, Apex was blaming Navi for never showing up on time, basically, and it just spiraled out of control into kind of an argument between him, Alex, and Simple, basically. Simple saying that I don't even remember exactly what it was said at the time, but Simple was actually taking the high road for at least for the first couple of messages that I saw, which is an interesting change compared to, let's say, a Simple 2 years ago or 3 years ago, which would have definitely looked very different by the way, how Simple would react to this situation. But apparently he reacted pretty badly on the server to some of the criticism from Vitality. So yeah, we had a bit of a drama. Most of the tweets, like you say, have been deleted, so a lot of people didn't even get to see it. Nothing too interesting, as in like factually, we didn't really learn who was in the right or whatever. I assume it was just like Navi being late
Navi
several times in a row, or being Navi. We've heard that before, by the way, so I wouldn't be surprised if this was true.
I mean,
Navi are just...
one of the recent like vlogs, I think it was before the major or something, was when Navi enforced a rule that you can't be late for practice or something. It's like, should this even be a rule? If you're a professional team, this should not be a rule. Yeah. This should just be normal behavior. But they started with something like some form of punishment. They got all of that stuff rolling before the major, and then obviously it didn't help long term.
Yeah, just so people are probably not maybe aware or not aware, the teams usually have like prac groups together and stuff, and they organize scrims in there, and they obviously have start times and whatever. And people are planning their entire days usually around these scrims. You know, some teams, they might play a shitload of scrims a day. Some teams might only play a couple. And they do a lot of theory before. They do a lot of theory after. And you got to remember, this is basically 6 individuals on each side of things, prepping and getting ready for these kind of prac games. And they have plans around and outside of work and all these bits and pieces. Just so everybody can understand, we are still dealing with people who don't have a whole lot of world experience. These kids, they travel a lot, like they do, but a lot of them have never worked a proper job in their life, right? And when I say a proper job, I'm talking about like a 9 to 5 at your local supermarket stacking shelves, or something where if you're late or you're not held accountable for your own actions, you just get fucking fired. Like they don't, you're just another body, right? So for a lot of these people right now, I'm not saying this happened in this situation. I don't know. I'm just saying this shit does happen. It's always happened. I have teammates. I used to have to wake up. There's players out there, guys, who honestly travel the world with only one mouse. Like, think about how ridiculous that is.
Classic.
Like, me and Henry always joke about it, like when we're doing online Counter-Strike stuff. And what happens is when like a player disconnects or he has high ping, we're sitting there thinking how much money these guys are making and how much it would cost in a lot of these countries where it's quite cheap. Maybe from your country it's not cheap, but a lot of these countries it is, to get a secondary internet connection or something. So you get it with a different provider. If one goes, I know that's not necessarily how the internet works, but you could get like a fucking 4G thing as a worst case, or 5G is fucking happening now. The whole point is that when this is your career and this is all going on for you, you need to make sure you have all the right bits and pieces going for you. And I can't really talk. I've been doing laundry all day to pack my suitcase for Cologne. I think I'm just going to buy new clothes there. But yeah, this stuff is stuff that happens. These are just normal people like you guys at home. So a bit of drama here, nothing to really read into it. I think, people get fired up about shit, but this happens from time to time. So I don't think there's too much to read into here. Do you guys?
I think the best part of it was Apex saying something along the lines of, and your manager, I don't want to shake hands with him next time we play. Something like that. He's like, why are you so mad, man? It was kind of funny. We'll see what happens in Cologne if they meet.
There was more to it on the server, because like he wouldn't have just been gotten this mad based on not showing up late for the 100th time or whatever it is. So I feel like there was just some words exchanged on the server that nobody's actually going to get to, that are just all behind this, and we're never going to learn the truth about that. So it's just a little bit of Twitter drama, really.
Yeah, but it's fun. Like, we didn't have people calling each other out this like publicly like this in a long time.
That's true.
So it's good. Like, remember the good old days with like Taco and all of that stuff. Like, you're gonna bite the bullet. The good old time, like 2016, KNG.
Yeah,
we didn't have stuff like that in a long time.
Another thing that probably gets lost, and this is something that it's different for everybody, right? Are cultural things. Like, there's certain things that people do from different teams that if you did that in like from Australia where I was from at a sporting event, that would be seen as like, holy shit, like what the fuck, this guy's crazy. The thing that Brazilians do all the time where they do this one, like if you did that in Australia, like that'd be like, what the fuck just happened? So it's like culturally speaking, everybody has different like kind of takes on things. So not only are things getting lost in translation of people who don't speak English as a native language trying to communicate with other people who don't speak English as a native language, this cultural thing, all this kind of stuff. Anyway, probably not a lot to read into here, but yeah, it was entertainment. We're doing a little bit of TMZ type coverage here, so we got that happening. Now, I'm going to give you a little bit of a warning this one, Lucas. Get the next thing fucking ready, all right? So if you guys have been watching Chicago and New York qualifiers, which have both been going on at similar times, which has made things a little bit logistically difficult, there's been some upsets. Now, I don't know, do we want to start? Are you going to start with the New York one, Lucas? The first link? Okay, yeah, so the first one is in the New York qualifier, which is Furia actually going down to E-United and not qualifying there. And I think Furia also lost a map to Team 1. I was watching that game. And they lost a map there in the opening. Now, we did talk about when they had their meteoric rise, right? They just showed up with this style. We're like, this is where they go into the big boys circuit. There's all the travel, there's all this stuff. People are trying to fucking take your players. The spotlight's on right now. And so far, the results have been a very mixed bag. This is one, considering the heights we saw out of Furia, that we would be expecting them to take. You on board with that, Prof?
What? I'm lost in the question.
Do you think this is one that Furia should have been taking, considering?
I mean, definitely. They still aren't a team that can just fuck around and miss a tournament here and there. They're still on the grind, and they just need to get every big event they can under the belt, for experience and for the ranking and for everything that comes into play as a team that wants to get on the map right now. So I think it definitely is a big oof for them to not go over, and for United to literally destroy them on the first map. Second one was kind of close, but what can you do? What do you think, Striker?
No, I mean, it's just, I feel like it's partially a result of how Furia have been kind of going back and forth between Europe and North America, having to play like a bunch of qualifiers at the same time. I'm not entirely sure that we should read into this that Furia have just gone worse, or like people have gotten used to their playstyle or whatever it is. But I feel like we have to take that into consideration as well, that their schedule has just not been ideal. They will just have to, after Cologne, I think they should be around this time, they should be going back on like a more normal schedule.
They have a minor after Cologne.
Oh yeah, that's
I think
true.
They're going back and then back to Europe again for the minor, or it's only a week in between. I don't know. Maybe they'll
maybe
be
they're
boot
staying
camping.
around. Who knows?
Yeah.
But
They're going to have
hopefully
to
they'll.
be.
Yep.
The thing for me is they're going to have to be either adding a whole bunch of new tricks to that magician's hat that they're wearing, or they're going to need to actually very quickly learn how to change their style. Because Art did that interview, right, where it was like, oh, there's so many different ways to be aggressive. That's true, like, sure, but doesn't necessarily mean it's successful, right? So I think this is going to be a real test for them coming on up.
I mean, there are many different ways, but you need to have all of those ways like practiced and like down, so you do them well, not just do random shit, just like push one guy on one side, one on the other, because that wasn't their style. They had a specific way of aggressing that kind of made sense, not like completely made sense in the standard meta, but it made somewhat of a sense. So getting to that point and getting new things is going to be a challenge.
Yeah, I think
it's one of those things that kind of look genius when it works out, but when it doesn't, it just looks super stupid. Or at least some of those plays, not all of them. Like you say, like a lot of them actually do make sense and are kind of like synchronized and not just like individual players going ham. But yeah, when some of these plays, when you see them work out, you're like, holy shit, this is like an amazing move. But obviously the second time around against the same team, it's probably not going to work the same way. So they will have to come up with new stuff. And I'm not sure that, considering what I said with the schedule and them going back and forth, is actually going to be possible for Furia, who just probably didn't really have that much time to practice, honestly.
I think the best part of this like grand final, I'm fucking sponge, but who cares? Marquee had 32-8 on the first map of Overpass, 140 ADR, which they then won, of course, 16-3. And then Furia lost Vertigo 16-14. So that was the grand final. So it's not like, it was kind of a weird, it was not a normal match, I would say, just looking at this. Like,
Marquee had like 22 kills in the first 11 rounds or something like that.
That's pretty wild, right? He's fucking beasted them, a 2.57 rating for those of you playing at home. Do we put any stock in this level of performance from United, or we just wait and see more, just see what happens?
I'd still wait. We still haven't seen, like, we've only seen Furia at one other tournament since they went on that run. So I feel like there's still a little bit of that we need to see from them before we can say, yeah, they've been caught up to, or know that they've actually been able to keep up. So yeah, I feel like Cologne is going to answer this.
Okay, so the other one was the Chicago qualifier, and that one there, we should have that one available for fucking, here we go, it's up. So this is where Envy actually qualified, right? And
yes.
Envy got it done, was it over complexity?
That was the semi-final.
Yeah,
there we go.
But so that was the most exciting match. I
don't understand how they ended up on the same side of the bracket, though. Just to comment on that.
It was just ESL had some issues with these qualifiers and the invites. So I guess like half of the teams that should have been on one side didn't go through or didn't come. And Lazarus was a favorite for the lower side, and they went out in the first round. So a lot of weird things going on over there.
I think the thing with the Envy roster is, like, when Nifty's at events, he's someone who's very easy to talk to, like, just casually. And when I talk to him, he has a very good head on his shoulders, at least in approaching this whole situation. And I think some of the pickups he made, like, he's the veteran of that team. Obviously, Fugly's in there, but he's kind of the brainchild behind all the different pickups and stuff they've been going for, right? I think Som was like a brave pick for them to go for, but a smart one. You know, if it turns out to be a prospect, then great. Like Fugly and Android, Fugly, you know, is a safe pair of hands to get you to a certain amount done. Android, I think, you know, he played for Complexity that made the major withstanding, game leading, and then they brought in Sonic, who's doing the primary AWP duties. I guess Nifty's doing secondary AWPing and in-game leading, something along those lines. The team, it doesn't sound hugely scary, but I think that, you know, they might be able to grind out some of these qualifiers on a decent basis, just because they like actually talking to Nifty, they treat it like it's proper work. You know, they're not just another Mickey Mouse organization. This is Envy with a big backing, and they're quite stringent on the way that they, you know, their practice days, and they expect a certain level of dedication and all this kind of stuff. So all the things coming out from Nifty are very promising. Whether they actually turn out to be anything, I guess we'll have to wait and see in Chicago, because the competition there, it's pretty stacked, I think, if you consider G2 Vitality's recent form. We've got Ents there, we've got Liquid there, Renegades. Hopefully we see some good things out of them again. So Chicago could be a bit of an interesting one. Do you guys have anything more on this one?
Yeah, no, I actually was just looking at the Envy roster. It looks better than I last remember it looking. Like, seems that there is some potential there, something that you're not used to seeing when you look at like the tier 2, 3 in a roster. It's just like it's not recycled talent, you know.
Yep.
They're taking some risks, right? So I got one thing for the breaking news that I just want Lucas to pull up, and we'll get talking about this when he can pull it up in a second. But if you missed this, earlier in the week, AUG, the team who we were probably talking about, 6 months ago, maybe 8 months ago now, time does seem to fly, as potentially the best Polish team. They ended up, I think that they benched a bunch of players, right? They parted ways with PHR, Spiro, and Caper, and then later in the week, you can see with this news that we're bringing up that AUG actually merged with XCOM. Now, XCOM, I most of you probably haven't heard of. They were a team who, look, they had like Stomp, and if I remember Stomp, he played in one of those Aces ROG things with Isaac's team. So basically Isaac just goes and grabs the next sickest thing from fucking FPL and takes him to LAN, and they probably already have semi-professional experience. Don't get me fucking jaded and started on that shit. But my point here is, it's a very weird position, right? Because towards the bottom of this post, on their roster, they have Stomp, Mono, Oscarish, Innocent, Reitz, Furlan, and Gruby. I don't know if you guys can fucking count, but that's too many people for a Counter-Strike team. And they even made a comment saying that they were going to potentially trial different players. Like, they might not pick the team out of these players. Yeah. Which, this just seems like a fucking, like, Frankenstein's experiment going on here, right? Do you guys have any other hot takes on this?
Yeah, I mean, Ago is a kind of a organization that's trying to, we're gonna play the video. I don't, just like casually watch it. Just, I don't know what's going on over there, but something is going on.
Yeah, I don't understand the video, honestly. Like, sure, the ending, I can see why, but what's this dancing about? Like, why
I
do we
fucking love it.
I mean, I kind of like it, actually. It's not like it's stupid, but I kind of like it.
This is great.
I just don't understand why.
Because it's a partnership, right?
Yeah, sure.
Maybe they're like representatives of like both teams. I know that this blonde girl is. That's
the thing. Like, I don't know who these people are, so it's kind of hard to say, I guess.
How long is this fucking video?
It's like a good 30 seconds of them just dancing.
It's like a minute.
Something. I mean, in total. I mean.
Oh, okay. So what they're
I feel like the girl
demonstrating
is
here...
somebody completely different, by the way.
All right, well, this was fucking easy. All they're doing here is just demonstrating the fucking power of having a partnership. That's all. That's all they're demonstrating is they're bringing these two. Come on, boys. I guess you guys don't. Yeah, all right. I'll let you off the hook.
I guess you're too smart for us, Chad.
I guess you never had sex.
I did not think of
I'll let you off the hook. I'll fucking let you guys off the hook for this one. But anyway, this is a fucking. It's
regarding.
But the thing is, Sponge. If we don't understand it, like the average CS fan doesn't understand it either, man. No, so they absolutely missed it with this PR. No one understands that shit. Ago is gonna dance with XCOM. That's the translation. Oh, GG's. All in all, I just want to touch, like, Ago as an org, they have been forcing this whole Astralis-like professional food, workout, whatever. We have our facilities, we have all of this professional backing. So they want to do things differently than other orgs do. I think they wanted to do like a academy team at one point that fell through. Then now they have this kind of mixed bag of 8 players on a roster, and they'll be trying out others as well, and who knows what comes from it. But in a way, if they make this kind of, it's still not going to be a Polish like super team of any kind because of Kingwin and Virtus Pro hoarding some of the talent. So it's not going to really shake the scene.
Honestly, I kind of like the fact that they're trying to combine and just like see what's the best combination of the two teams, and even potentially like some other talent could be. Because I feel like at this point, like, we've got too many like semi top Polish teams, and none of them are actually good. So that's like, for them to try to combine something different together is actually a good move from, in my opinion. I'm not entirely sure that they're going to be able to find the right players for it though, because I'm like, these two teams, like you say, have been kind of like bastardized by Virtus Pro, basically, like Snatchy leading to VP just immediately ruined Algo, basically. From that point on, Algo never did anything, so that was a big part of the problem. I'm not sure this is going to be the answer, but I like that they're going to at least try to figure out a lineup that can work.
Okay, well, I guess we're done with the polls for now. What we're going to do is we are done with the recent news, so we're going to do a top 3 for Cologne. Now, This can be broad, right? Hold on, let me find my fucking tool panel here. Fucking TVs,
Yeah.
second monitors.
I mean,
doing all this
usually
fucking
when we
nonsense.
do it, we get like the host to make something up at the spot, but this time we did it in advance. We know kind of the idea, but we
Okay.
can roll with it anyway.
I won't
like,
lie, I didn't even look at the idea. What's the idea?
The idea is just like best moments from any Cologne event. So it can be from the last 6 years. So this is going to be the 6th year. So the last 5 years from 2014 and then to like 2018. So the best moments, the most impressive stuff that happened during the Cologne event.
I can go first. I'm going to I can just fucking bang through this, right? It's all good. You guys always beat me in these because you have bigger brains. I'm fucking only thinking about what happened yesterday.
Do we have the fan vote thing? I hope that we have that as well.
So you guys can vote for this at home. So there's going to be a lot of this that we're going to probably get wrong or we're going to forget. I haven't done any research
I feel
here.
like I know at least one of your points already.
Yeah, I think everyone should at home know one of my points. Let's start off with having Big in the grand final versus Navi and how much of a crazy experience that was. I think the fact that it was Cologne, a German team, made it that far. They had like an insane performance mixed with the crowd actually having someone to get behind. It made Cologne like a different beast. Normally the crowd.
What was it?
That would be my third point.
Oh,
are we starting at 1 and going down to 3?
No, it doesn't matter. We can do
Okay.
bottom, I think.
So and I think I think having that kind of changes everyone's scope of what was possible at that event, because until then people would just go and cheer for good Counter-Strike, but the crowd actually had somebody to cheer for in that one. So I think that was great for everybody involved, whether it hasn't been great for Big since then, but it was good at the time. Okay.
At least it got them an invite this year, so that's the minimum.
Well, hopefully they can win some games, right?
I mean, last time they got the invite just based on them being German, basically. So, like
it
was
a kind of a shit show. I remember Janko being very against that.
That was a big.
And
big
then, of course, like
it.
when the unthinkable happens, everyone comes back and is like, haha, you were wrong.
Yeah.
This team was 10 times better than it ever was at this event. You are so stupid. Haha.
Yeah, it's
classic Twitter clips.
It's wild, isn't it? Let's go with number 2 as NIP winning their first major.
Yep.
Obviously, they were the best team, and they went into DreamHack Winter 2013. They were the biggest favorites. They got blown up by Fnatic. Then Katowice went in the favor of motherfucking Virtus.pro, and then NIP, like the legendary team who was fucking blowing everyone's socks off. They win in 2014. And then number 1 has to be one of the greatest Counter-Strike performances of all time, and that was Renegades versus Titan on Mirage of ESL1 Cologne 2015. Those are my 3. Who wants to go next?
All the same to me.
I can go next. I mean, the problem is like I had two of the same ones basically. With the third, I knew the third one was coming. Well, I mean, big at Cologne 2018. That was a massive thing for sure. I'm gonna put it for the third as well. I haven't figured out the second one, so that's the problem. I know my first, so that's kind of the problem that I have. But yeah, Cologne, big in Cologne 2018 is a big moment for me. Basically, you outlined it all already. Like a German team, obviously hasn't been at the top for such a long, since 1.6 basically. We haven't had a top German team like being able to reach grand finals, like maybe outside of the Nico Mosports, where that had like a sliver of a chance at the time. But still, like all of the context like pointed against Big. Nobody thought Big would ever come close to reaching the grand final. So that was a massive surprise for sure. So I'm going to put that as third. My first one was going to be NIP winning 14, because just because of the context of them like that being the major where they weren't favored to win at all, where nobody thought that they would win, and especially like the way they did it by beating 3 teams on Cologne in a row in the playoffs, basically Cloud9, LDLC, and then Fnatic in the final. With I don't even remember if all of them were the deciders, but I think 2 of them were. Cloud9 I think was. There you go. Just trying to look at it. Yeah, Cloud9 was a decider. LDLC was a decider. And then, against Fnatic, it was actually the first map. But still, like, that fashion, with Kabul being a new map, by the way, for people who don't remember, at the time, Kabul was very untested, and not too many people know. knew it at the time. Cloud9 barely even had any sort of practice on it, and it was a part of the reason why they lost, because they forgot about a corner on A side where Freiburg just managed to clutch like a 1v3 or something, or basically like decide the series on one play. So yeah, that was gonna be my first one, and I'm trying to figure out another one just on the fly. I'm gonna
Do you want me to take? You have to finish it now. Doesn't
I
make
should
sense.
finish it now. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking as well.
We'll let him mull over it.
I'm gonna go with I'm gonna go with SK in 2016. I don't want to go with winners only, but I kind of like that storyline because they won 2 consecutive majors. The Brazilian lineup winning consecutive majors, obviously, like after winning MLG Columbus, and kind of solidifying their spot, their number 1 spot at the time. So yeah, I'm gonna put that as my second one.
All right. And Prof.
Okay.
You're the man.
I'll skip the big in Cologne thing just because you both picked it. Kind of doesn't make it's not really interesting now. I'll start with the third one being Cologne 2016, Group D, aka the Group of Death, handpicked by the luck of the draw, in which we had. I'm now looking at the event, and I'm not sure how accurate this new feature that we have is, where we have the ranking ahead of the tournament for each team, and literally had SK, G2, and Fnatic in the same group, number 1, number 2, number 3 in the world, and then FaZe number 17 playing in Group D was obviously the Group of Death. Poetically, of course, it was Group D, so that was pretty insane. Also highlighted how broken the major system format was back then, that group could even happen.
Yeah.
And it was pretty interesting. And G2 went out, and a lot of the French shuffling happened later. About
FaZe also changed roster, right? Alu and Kiyoshima went off the roster, and Guardian and Olaf came in after that.
You're thinking about 2017.
No. That was 2016 was the
PHL Krakow.
Yeah, there was the Fox,
That's
Kiyoshima,
right.
AZ, Rain, Jacob lineup.
Oh dear.
Yeah, that was a long time ago. And later on, SK went on to win the whole thing. That was pretty crazy thing. But number 2, I take, instead of the big in Cologne thing, just Navi at that same Cologne and beating Astralis in the semi-final, which of course they later beat big in the final. That wasn't that interesting, but beating Astralis at that time were just like, they didn't establish the whole era dominance, but they were going there. And then there was the third map where Zeus dropped like a 30 bomb on Inferno to win the series. I think that was pretty insane and pretty memorable for me. And for the last one, I think it's before the whole cathedral of Counter-Strike came in, just the NIP and Cologne. Just because back then, looking at it now, it doesn't seem that important, because we saw how long the game has been going on and all of that. But at that time, NIP had been dominating earlier. Then they had those 2 majors that they the first one that they definitely should have won, second probably biggest favorites, and then they go into the third one. It's like they weren't even a pretty strong team then, but they still managed to do it and kind of at least get that major for them, because later on, like Forest and Getrad, if they didn't do it then, they could have not won a major ever, which would be...
That's true.
Well, yeah, it's their only major win, which is kind of mad considering how dominant NIP used to be.
Yeah, right. Well, I think DreamHack not winning Winter 2013 was
that was a big one.
Bit of a ball drop from them. Just so people can understand, right? Because we're going to get into the conversation about Cologne soon. But I think that Cologne, in my mind, it's obviously a mainstay in the calendar every year with Katowice. Now, Katowice was a major this year, but if you had Cologne, Katowice, and then 2 other majors in the entire year, they would be the 4 biggest events of the entire year, at least when we look at all these things. Now, Cologne in 2014, it was part of the Gamescom Expo, right?
Yep.
It was like, ladies and gentlemen, it was a fucking curtained off area.
Yeah.
We played the group stage. I don't know how much of behind me you guys can see here, but we played in an area for the group stage with 4 teams. One team, you would probably fit 2-team setups in my bedroom the way it is right now. We were literally fucking stuffed in there. It was ridiculous.
And I was, by the way, I was just to put my perspective on this. I was right in front of you. Like there was no press area at that event. So I was like with my laptop only on like a small pillar right in front of the group stage area. Like literally I could reach in and touch like somebody's monitor like from the first row of players. Like that's how that event went.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. Now we're getting the votes coming in now. It looks like Prof is winning. I think he's probably got the lion's share of votes here. He has, I can't read very well anymore, 51.5%.
51%.
Yeah.
Okay, well, Prof wins this one.
They locked it in.
I think people really just like the fact that you covered all your bases here. You spoke about simple, you spoke about NIP, and then you spoke about something old that half the viewers probably didn't even see.
And everyone's like, this guy knows everything. So
exactly.
Cool.
So you've really nailed this one here. So Prof's gonna grab the lead on the top 3 of this one right here. But yeah, we've set the scene. Cologne is one of the events every year which tends to deliver, right? And I lived in the city of Cologne. I've been going to Cologne every year since 2014. It is such a fantastic place, especially this time of year, to have a Counter-Strike event. So if you've never been, if you're a viewer at home and you want to go, obviously you can't go to this one. I'm assuming it's sold out. If you can, you can probably buy tickets off fucking eBay or some shit. Don't do that. But get there. Get to one of these events, right? And if you're from America and you don't want to travel all the way to Europe, get all you motherfuckers to come to New York. We could turn that thing into something spectacular. Anyway, let's fucking get stuck in. We're going to now look at Cologne for 2019. And we're going to preface this the best we can. We're going to get you guys as hyped. We're going to get ourselves as hyped. And we're going to decompile all of this stuff. So, Lucas, if you can, I'll grab it for you. I just want to grab the match page. And I want you to show all the teams in attendance. And then we'll talk about formats. So we'll go through every little detail here. And then we'll obviously change these topics as we need to. So, 1 second. That's not it.
Miss copy paste.
There we go. Oh shit. That's the one. All right, I'm changing the topic. There we go. It's all over. Okay. So Lucas is going to bring this up in a second for all of you, but we'll have the go down to the teams first, Lucas, where it says teams attending. So if those of you aren't aware, this event will have the same format as what the Pro League finals had, what Pro League finals last year had, what a lot of the 16-team events for ESL has. So the opening game are best of ones. Now, before any of you start fucking jumping up and down and getting upset, this event right now is featuring teams 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9, 10, 12, 13, 14, and 15 in the world. You have 17, 30, and 31 to round it all out. So no matter if you're a top 3 seed, which Liquid, Astralis, and ENCE are, you will play against the bottom 3 seeded teams, right? There's no fucking other ways around that, right? If you are Liquid, Astralis, or ENCE and you drop your opening game to Heroic, Big, or MVP, you have utterly fucked up, right? There's none of this bullshit. I don't care. The disparity between Liquid and MVP is huge. The disparity between Astralis and Big is huge. The disparity between ENCE and Heroic, not as huge, but still quite a big disparity, right? What we need to point out here is these best of ones in this environment, there's no fucking around here. There's no room for error. It doesn't matter if this was a best of 1, a best of 3, a best of 5, a best of 7 opening game. No matter what we're playing right now, there's no room for error. You're going into this with heaps of prep time, ready and raring to go, right? So, first of all, on this is we'll have to throw this into the good. Prof, you got any comments on these top teams here? You think anyone should be in attendance? Anything along those lines?
I think it sucks that we don't have like G2 and North as well, or at least G2 because of their latest performance. I don't think North, I'm not really that hyped about North. Other people maybe are, so maybe other people want North, but I think G2 is the only omission that you would maybe want to have instead of MVP PK. Like, usually I'm all in for everyone from different regions having a way into big tournaments, but maybe this one doesn't really matter, honestly. Like, it's not like MVP is going to get some sick exposure or like experience that's going to change their life. I don't think so, at least.
It's going to be their first international event with the new lineup, though, isn't it? At least
they did Sydney. They did Sydney.
Did they have stacks already?
I don't know if they changed maybe one.
Yeah,
player.
I'm pretty sure that's it. I'm pretty sure it was Zeph, Zion, HSK, Zeta, and Stacks. I'm 90% sure that was their team in Sydney.
Because I don't remember. Oh yeah, it was actually. Never mind then. My bad.
So for these guys here, they're automatically going up against the fucking best in the world, right? So it's
And
very.
by the way,
difficult.
then they're gonna meet Navi or Mouse Sports. Like when they lose, they're gonna
Yeah.
meet Navi or Mouse Sports.
So they better enjoy the week of getting practice, basically, because that's. Here's the thing, guys. On day one of this tournament, there are going to be two teams knocked out on day one of this tournament, and they're going to be from Group A. So let's go and have a look at. Well, I assume it's going to be Group A. Normally we do Group A.
I think it is.
I don't know.
Group A, lower bracket
Yeah,
round,
yeah, it
yes.
I'd have to, yeah, there we go. I think I still need to see if I can get them to change that, but fuck, that doesn't matter for now. So let's go to Group A matchups here. So as you can see, we had the seeding there before, and now you can see how all these teams line up. All of these matchups are reasonable matchups. Liquid versus MVP, that's a reasonable matchup. Navi versus Mouse Sports, we haven't seen Navi with Boomich, that's going to be a good one. FaZe versus Renegades, haven't seen Renegades in some time, they've been boot camping in Munich. And then Furia on the road versus NRG with Stan, right? Let's go down and let's, I know that I'm doing this quick, Lucas, but we'll get stuck into more teams just quickly. We give everyone just the base idea. So as you can see in that bracket, you do the upper bracket run, you win the first best of one and best of three, you're automatically in the playoffs. If you lose, you have to go through the gauntlet of the lower bracket in the best of threes. And then we have Group B, Astralis Big, MIPR Fnatic, Vitality NIP, and Heroic Ents. All these games are exciting games for one reason or another. Or they mean that, okay, cool, we get Astralis through to a point where they get tested, or this or that. This here, I think, is probably more stacked than would you guys say the major, this event?
Oh, you mean
G2 and North are missing. Yeah.
If we're talking about the top 16 when we get to the group stage, it's about there.
Like who was
the
missing.
last major was pretty good because of the seeding and the best of threes and all of that stuff. But if we would compare it to earlier majors, I'd say probably more stacked, this one.
So you'd put it on like this we'd put it on very similar pegging, right? I think.
Yeah, it's
definitely
in
up
there.
Like it's very close, if nothing else. Like it's very, very close at least.
It's so close, it's not even worth like saying what is better, what is not. Like it's right there. It's mega
literally
stacked.
14. We've said this before. It's literally 14 out of the top 16 teams. Like that doesn't even. Well, that basically happens at majors at best. Like that doesn't really happen anywhere else almost.
I mean, even at the major, we always had like Mouse Sports missing out. We have there's some big team fucks up something, so
Yeah. Okay. So I want you guys to pick, because we're obviously doing the good right now. So we've gone over the format. We've had a lot of format discussion here lately, but this is one of the most competitive formats. We've looked at the teams; they're part of the good as well. I want you guys to pick. You can pick a team, you can pick a player, you can pick a storyline, you pick whatever. But I want you to pick something that you consider to be, you would categorize as the good for Cologne, and why. Prof, I'm going to put you on the spot here.
Either group,
Anything.
A or B.
Group, team, player, literally anything.
Any angle.
I'll go with Navi. I think just them not playing anything for 2 months. They managed to avoid getting any flack to a degree just because they fucked up ESL Pro League, so they should have played that, but they didn't. 2 months with Boomich almost to prepare. They have Simple. We didn't see Simple play for 2 months. Can you think 2 months the best player has not been playing anything relevant? Very sad. So just seeing him back, Electronic, a fantastic player as well. I think just Navi playing, even though I'm kind of careful about what to expect about them, but I think they should have no excuses to not perform here.
So Navi is your look at a highlight in this one. I think,
Yes.
the thing is, we don't know. I think most of us would be assuming Zeus probably is on his way out the door, based off of things that we've read in interviews earlier in the year and stuff, right? And this Boomich thing, the fact that he was in-game leading before, and this could be one of the last few times at a big event we get to see Navi like this, and they are the defending champions, so there's more on the line for them, and obviously they want to have a good performance out of the gate. Here's a question for you while we're on this one. Do you think that Navi will have their standard slow starts? I know that they're playing a much higher caliber of opponent than what they normally would, where they still get the loss, but do you think it's going to be a situation where they come in and they still lose their opening game but go deep?
I don't think that it's going to be like a one-sided win for most sports if that happens. I don't think so. Because usually when that happens, it's often to a team that they perhaps like could have underestimated or anything as individuals and stuff. While when they go up against like big teams from the start, which I think we can categorize most sports as, I don't think that happens to them as much. They still are very competitive against those teams, so I don't think it's going to happen this time.
To be honest, I don't know what was the last time they played a good team, like a strong team early on, because they were always the highest. They're like top 5 for the last year and a half. So they most certainly won't get a good team early on. So, but there is something to it. I think they'll probably take Mousesports a bit more seriously. But at the same time, Mousesports are a pretty strong team. So they could, even if they take them seriously, Navi could lose the game and go into the lower bracket. That's why I'm kind of, the worst case scenario for me, maybe this is the bad or the ugly, is if Navi just go out like in two games, lose the best of one, lose the best of...
they're not going to lose to MVP.
It's MVP.
They're not going to lose to MVP.
I don't know how these like brackets work.
I know
so
they almost did last time.
Okay, so I looked into this. What happens is if let's say assume that MVP lose to Liquid and Navi lose to Mousesports, they'll play each other. But what happens is later, the next stage is where it flips.
Swaps.
Okay.
So they're opening it as is, and then it swaps in the second stage.
Navi should play a bit more, but at the same time, if they play against MVP, it's not really that relevant of a game anyway. So you still want to see them play more like top teams.
Sure. Okay. Strike, you got anything from the good category that you want to be going with here?
The good category,
abstract,
I think...
you can do partner dancing for promotional material, whatever you think.
Okay. I'm going to go with how Astralis is going to fare against not the AUG meta. Because obviously, like, this is a pretty big storyline. So just in general, the AUG meta, how that's going to change for Cologne, but specifically how Astralis are going to look against like a normal CT side as we were used to beforehand, because they struggled against the AUGs a lot, I think, and it was a big part of why they lost their nuke streak to Ants. And they struggled even in other matches just because of the fact that CTs could just take up a lot more aggressive duels and actually win them. And it took Astralis quite a lot off guard towards the start, at least. And I'm just trying to wonder if they're going to be able to come back from that now that the AUG is going to be nerfed and it's not going to be used as much on the T side. So yeah, that's one thing that I'm going to be looking towards.
Okay,
I think that's good, by the way.
Yeah, I get where you're going with there. I see if they're able to recover or make some ground up from their recent little stumbles. For me, in terms of the good side of things, it has to be the Liquid situation, right? The Intel Grand Slam is literally, one tournament away for them. They're almost there. They've won Sydney, they've won Dallas, they just won Pro League Finals in Montpellier. They could do it 4 events straight. Now, you can argue about the fact that Astralis weren't there. That's not Liquid's fault. That's not Liquid's fault. They could do this with 4 straight events. Not only that, they could win 4 straight events of this caliber. I know that Astralis won a bunch of events in 2000, won 10 out of 12 trophies in 2018, right? But like, we're talking about these 3 level tier 1 premier events, right? We would categorize the Masters, the Pro League Finals, Cologne, and Sydney as tier 1 events, right? Maybe Sydney, you could argue, because a couple of teams are missing there, but it's still a relatively big event. This could be absolutely huge from Liquid, but for me, I'm left always wanting more, right? I want to see them have one of those tournaments where they just fucking slay everybody. So the Liquid one is I want to see their domination. Like, it doesn't have to be in the sense of how Astralis was doing it or anything. I still want to see exciting matchups, but I want it because we're gonna have a best of 5 grand final again here. Be crazy if we just had the Astralis era where they fucking hammered everybody for 2018, and then we move into 2019. Liquid gets the fucking Grand Slam within the first 7 months. That'd be crazy. Like, we're talking like domination in a short period of time against the opponents available. So that's a good one for me. You guys got anything to add on that one?
Yeah, I mean, it would be pretty funny just because of when you look at the scores, when you look at the games themselves, it's not like Liquid is dominating, but if they just manage to get 4 big events in a row, win the Grand Slam, just like this, it kind of makes, it doesn't make it equal as Astralis, but it also makes it like a historic thing. This lineup with S3.E22 will be a historic lineup in CS, like on the level of maybe the Dennis Fnatic at least. Maybe like with future events, maybe it goes further, but with this, it kind of is maybe reminiscent to that 2016 Fnatic when they won 6 events. Was it 6 events in a row, right? 2015 to 2016. So that is like one of the like top 10 lineups that ever existed, just based on these 6-7 months, if they win Cologne. So I think it's mega hype for me to see what is going to happen with Liquid.
Yep, I don't think it's going to be dominant in any case, just because of how fucking competitive this tournament is. Like, I don't see them just like rolling over like potentially Navi or Mouse Sports in the second round, or then just like rolling over maybe whoever ends up on the other side of the group, because it's those teams are actually not like, none of those teams are proven at this point. Like considering Furia are kind of a little bit shaky now, despite their earlier success. FaZe, same thing, kind of shaky with Neo still. Not entirely sure how that's going to look, or Renegades Energy. Same, basically all those 4 teams on the other side of the bracket. I'm not entirely sure what to expect from them. So yeah, sure, I could see them roll over any of those 4, honestly, just because of the history. But then you get into the playoffs, and then they're going to meet the likes of Astras and potentially Vitality again, or Ents. Those teams are just like, those are not going to roll over. Like, this is not going to be a dominant run for Liquid in any case, I don't think. If it is, then it's probably going to be like up there with some of the most dominant we've ever seen ever, just because of the context of this being like one of the most competitive tournaments that we've seen, at least in 2019.
Okay. Well, do we have any other good topics we want to chuck in here? Because looking through these names, obviously we know Mouse Sports. We want to see them continue on that path. FaZe, similar thing.
I think Ents is probably like a talking point. Like, where will they land? They're also a team that is similarly to Renegades exploded at that major and then continued after that. Obviously, Ents was rising before that. The people that said that, oh, they came out of nowhere, that triggers me a lot, because they didn't come out of nowhere. They've been grinding similarly like what
they won
Vitality
Star
is doing.
Series season
6.
Yep.
I mean,
even
Cologne,
before that,
right?
the Cologne 2018, they lost to Navi and Astralis and looked sick. They beat Mouse Sports. Those games were pretty close. And they didn't come out of nowhere. It just didn't have the opportunities to play a lot of lands. But when they had them, they took advantage of it. So I think that was kind of a bullshit narrative. But they happen sometimes. But back to this topic, Ents and the rise coinciding with the AUG, that is an interesting thing. Will they be affected by it? Because they're also a team that we didn't expect to be individually so good as they were. So is that the AUG that kind of just bridge the gap and allow them to be a top team? Will that fall? Like, will they fall off without the AUG? That is, I'm losing my voice.
That's all right. That's why we have a cough button with some of the events we go to. So you get a little bit lucky. You can just let go of the mic button. But I agree with that sentiment. Now, I want to grab this one and I want to transition into the bad. If for people who don't understand the reference of the good, the bad, the ugly, it's actually an old Western film. Cowboys, that kind of stuff. So we don't actually think anything's bad or ugly. This is just a fun little play on words here. Anyway, so let's shift across to that one. Let me click the fucking button. And what could go wrong here? What could go wrong here for Ents if we continue this is if they fall flat here. I know that they didn't get to play in Pro League. They didn't get to do those bits and pieces. I understand that.
And they won't soon because they pulled out of MDL.
They chose not to play in MDL. But if they fall very flat here, if they get like knocked out relatively early, Sunny is available. Like he's there. He's reachable. He hasn't played for a team in the minors. He's not qualified to play with anybody, right? Like, so if Ents, I'm not saying they will, I'm not saying they should. I'm just saying that it could be a possibility if they do poorly here. That Sunny temptation is always right there. So I would say with knowing Natu helping steer the ship, unless something fucking drastic happened and someone had a personal blowout, that would be the only way this would happen. But Natu's also a businessman, and he's going to be looking at those things. So if this is an opportunity, which it could happen, and all the stars align, then maybe we see Sunny coming in. Otherwise, I think Ents are going to come in here and continue to deliver that consistency that we know them for.
Just to note something here, obviously Ents have already locked in their lineup for the next major. So we don't assume that this would happen.
That's right.
Until the major anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and
so
God knows if Sunny doesn't already have some offers on his table. So like, actually, it would put Ents in a pretty awkward scenario if they just suddenly dropped off. I don't think, honestly, I'm not that afraid, just because they've just done well since the major. Like, they haven't had an off event in the meantime or anything. Like, their worst placing was in Star Series, where they lost to Navi in the quarterfinals, who then went on to win the event, and that's their worst placing. Like, then they won Madrid. Then they went third to fourth at Summit, where they lost to Vitality. Yeah, of course, at the time that was kind of an upset, but then Vitality went on to become a top team. So with hindsight, I guess that was pretty legit. And then they went second in Dallas. So that's like all of this just makes me believe that Ents are just going to do it again and just make a deep run at least to the playoffs. Because I don't see them losing to more than I don't see them losing to more than one team on their side at least. So that should automatically put them through to the playoffs as long as they don't fuck up against some of the underdogs, which I feel like is the problem for Ents. Like they're always going to go up against the big teams and deliver, but when they go up against some of these small teams, I could actually see Heroic pulling off an upset just based on this, based on Ents kind of being a little bit fluctuant against some of these like underdogs.
Sure. So I'm going to list 3 teams here, and I want you guys to pick out of these 3 who you think has the most to lose coming into this event. Here are the names, and we can add more into it if you feel necessary. If you want to make a case for a team that isn't here, we can talk about it. So the first team, and they're talking about most to lose of having a bad result.
And that's pretty obvious who the first team is.
Astralis?
No, Liquid.
Well, you're talking about actually financially losing things. If Liquid don't win this tournament, they're not going to change their team, right?
Oh, okay.
I know most of these teams aren't going to be changing their rosters. Obviously, they're not going to be changing their rosters for the major because that's how it has to be. But what it might actually start doing is sowing some seeds of doubt, right? So I think that Astralis is one of those teams. I think that if you add where are they here? If you add, let me go, Astralis, Vitality, and Big. Those 3. Out of those 3, who you think Big's got the most to lose? Why?
No, I'm surprised that you say them.
Well, I don't see how that team works, right? They have Cirrus and the AWPer available to get, right, over from Sprout, but they don't want to get him. Now they have Dennis doing primary AWPing. The language thing...
You said they have the most to lose, which I feel like, I don't know, I don't understand the premise there.
Because I don't think this team would be a team anymore if they have, like, more flat results, right? If they continue not to be able to show anything, like Big are in a position here where they could go into this tournament and get absolutely flatlined. Like they could get fucking flatlined here. There's a chance they put up a fight, maybe get 8 to 10 rounds. There's also a chance they're getting 16-3'd, right? Like there's a possibility for that one too. So those 3 teams, like Vitality as well, another one. They've been like on a rise, and now they're in a position where it's like, can they defend a top 5 position against all of these fucking piranhas in the water, or are they going to drop down and then have to start questioning things if they have another bad one? Like there's other teams you could say that for, but Fury is locked down. FaZe with the Neo experiment. MIBI just added Lucas. NRG just have Stan. Ents, Astralis, Liquid are solid. Fnatic, if you look at a comment that Prof's just linked, which we could probably bring up Lucas. Mouse Sports are still a pretty new roster. Navi just added Boomage. NIP are on the way out. I guess you could add Renegades to that mix as well.
Yeah. For them, they need a good result for sure. So yeah, but I think the gist of Big is like we don't really expect them to do much either way. But of course, it will be a big blow if they just get absolutely wrecked. But they'll still be together trying to qualify for the major. That is for sure a thing that's going to be happening. The minors just coming up for them. Berlin International Gaming, all of that stuff. But I don't think it's going to go well. And I don't think like anything is going to change. Like if they go and win the tournament here, okay, but they're not. So like it's all going to hinge on the minor for them, I think. I would say like Fnatic was a team that I felt like needed to do better. But now, there's just a reply from JW on Reddit to a DK article.
I like the ending of that message, by the way.
Yeah, please Flusha come back is the ending. But JW is saying, I don't even know the original context though. But JW explains that he didn't play, or he got hospitalized for some reason, so Jumpy had to play with Fnatic for a couple of games in practice, but he's ready to play tomorrow. So that is, and that they're confident sticking together, achieving goals. Which is something that this lineup of Fnatic has been saying like quite openly for quite a while. I'm not sure how much truth is behind that though.
Thing is, they get to the finals of Star Series season 7, right? And then since then, everything's looked pretty average.
And
Dallas was
Sydney.
averaged. Yeah.
And then after
that's
that,
right. Obviously, the grand final is Sydney. Dallas was average, and Pro League finals were average. Sorry, my brain, it's all over the place. That was right, yeah. So for these guys, I think that we spoke actually a little bit about their team on the last one.
Yeah.
I think that Swedish Counter-Strike right now is probably in a transitional period again. They've had a couple of these for the last 3 years, probably, with just like different kind of... They still haven't found the right recipe. So the NIP situation, which could probably go into the category of the bad because of the messy position they're in with Cologne coming up, and they're going to play with Plopsky and Get Right? That's the roster going into this. So this isn't going to be their final form of roster. They also have to play the major with Golden as a stand-in. So when you look at all these situations, for me it feels like NIP are in a position right now where they have 3 months of just blah. Just that feeling when you wake up and you're just like, ugh, what is the point? Obviously the point is to play and to perform well and to show your fans, but like, how can you be invested, first of all, if you're one of the players staying in the team, knowing things are going to change? How can you be invested if you Get Right, knowing that they want to get rid of you, even though it is the fucking, wheel him out?
Not even sure if it's like coming from the team or himself. I feel like Get Right has been talking about this for quite a long time himself, about like even like letting his team know that if they feel like he's underperforming, they should just leave, let him go. He's been saying this for quite a long time. So that's actually, I wouldn't be surprised if this was coming from Get Right rather than the team or the organization.
It kind of fills me with a bit of hope if it is coming from Get Right, because what that means is he feels very stale and stagnant in whatever he's doing right now. So if Get Right, after the major, whatever, even if we don't even know who they submitted for the major, right? They don't necessarily have to have submitted Get Right. They could have done Rez, Forest, and Lekro, and then they could have Golden and somebody else. We don't know because they haven't officially announced it yet, have they?
Yeah, but it's kind of understood, I think, when they announced Golden to come in instead of Plopsky.
I don't think.
I think the implication is that Get Right is playing the major.
Okay.
I actually, when they did the change, they said like they're figuring out if they like transitioning Get Right out of the player role sometime after the major. So it implies that, of course, it can be that he doesn't play the major, but I think it's pretty. They're not trying to fuck us. If they wanted to fuck us, they could. Yeah.
Sure. Okay, so with those things in mind, assuming he's going to... The point I was getting to here was that I think that Get Right could actually do with some time away from this team. You think about it, he's been with them from the very beginning. Obviously, back in 2013, he was the number one player in the world for CSGO, right? And a lot has changed in that time. And it's very easy to get disenchanted and stagnated and all these different bits and pieces. So this one is like quite a blurry situation because it sucks for all parties involved. Just hopefully they can go out there and put on a decent show for the fans. Do you guys have anything you want to throw in the category of the bad? Do you think there's going to be people standing and shouting from the rooftops about the best of one situation in a cutthroat tournament like this? Hopefully. You think we're going to have any people complaining?
Hopefully not.
I think that the bad thing is actually, not without being an idiot, I of course know why they're doing it, but the amount of good matches that are going on, and we'll be having double matches for the group stage, which means you'll probably, like, the average viewer miss a lot, and we won't be able to watch everything. Even though you watch 2 games at the same time, then you don't watch, you don't really get everything that's going on. So a bit of the hype will be lost in some of the matches that could have been more exciting to the viewership, could have been a bigger storyline maybe. They won't. So I think that's a small minus for me personally, just because this tournament is so stacked. So almost every match is going to be worthy of a watch.
Yeah, you're spoiled for choice, right? I think that's which is kind of us reaching to look for something negative with this.
It's a good change from what has been happening so far in 2019, outside of the major, of course, because this is the first time. This is hands down the top 2 most stacked event, and the first tournament where we get all the top team, the top teams. Sure, we're missing a couple of teams from the top 16, but neither of those teams would probably be up for a top 4 finish. Maybe G2, there could be a case made after what they did in Pro League, but still, we probably wouldn't have expected them to make it deep here. So with the teams that are here, then yeah, I feel like that's definitely the event to watch.
That's a very good talking point. Maybe I can get the producer Lucas to do up a poll. Obviously, I'm not giving a lot of time here, but we could get the viewers at home who are watching to vote on this as well as we talk about this. The question will be, do you personally, this is for everybody at home, do you personally think that having it so there has been a drought of having all the top teams at tournaments and then having this one come and then all the top teams, do you think it amplifies this? Do you think it's better, or do you think it's worse and you prefer to the other way when you saw all the top teams competing at least once a month, right? Prof, what's your hot take on that situation while we get the viewers to vote?
On whether it's better, I think it definitely did kind of ramp up the hype, but like some of the more casual viewers that I know, like friends that watch but don't like follow the scene in depth, I think they got kind of disenchanted with everything, that they don't even know that Cologne is so stacked. They just expect it to be another tournament like tournaments were this year. So it has some negative and positive. For me personally, like of course it's mega hype, but I'd rather have good tournaments like all the time. Not saying these, like the tournaments we had so far weren't good, but there are things missing definitely.
I can see where you're coming from. I would kind of prefer for it to be somewhere like in the middle. Maybe not like every other week to have like big events with all the teams. But this has been so long. Like outside of the major, we've never had this where all of the top 5 teams, I think, were in attendance at the same event. Yeah. So for that to happen only once in 3 months or like twice in 6 months now, that's quite low. So I would have like hoped for like maybe a couple of more events throughout 2019 to be like this. Maybe, yeah, like I said, maybe not every other week, but I feel like there's definitely like a middle ground that I would have preferred over one or the other.
Yeah, I think for me it's like the narrative that you have, like obviously my job is to tell the story on the desk and analyze the games as it's happening for all the viewers at home, and to be able to go into a tournament and not to have to worry about a caveat, because here's the thing, right? Like they don't tell me what to say. There's no say this, say that, we want you to hit these points. There's a run of show, there's a general flow, but we go out there and like, if I'm obviously never going to go out in the tournament and say this tournament fucking sucks, right? The people pay me. But from my perspective, I want to be as real with the viewer at home as humanly possible. So if Astralis is missing or at a tournament, I'm going to say the best team in the world right now, at least previously, is not here, right? And that's a caveat. It's really nice to go into this tournament. Obviously, there's going to be the G2 caveat and the North one, and you can make an argument for them being in the places of the lower seeded teams in this event. But this is the position we're in. Heroic qualified, Big Gun invited because they made the final last year. Obviously, things have changed. And fucking MVP qualified from that region. And we want teams to be qualifying from that region. It's very important. If that was Tai Lu there, we would all potentially think, oh, there's always a chance. It's just with MVP, the chance is less.
Yeah, the problem there is that we've been seeing MVP for too long and seeing them fail for too long, that it's just like a mute team at this point. So that's the problem with MVP specifically. But obviously, like you say, the region itself, I feel like there's definitely a legit for one out of 16 spots to go to a team from another region.
Would it be better if it was Greyhound?
Okay, so
maybe SL should add some like Oceania slots for Cologne. That's kind of.
Sorry, there's an interesting result on the screen here. Do you personally think that having the drought make it better or worse? 53% of our viewers think it makes it better. So that's curious, right? I guess, I don't know. I assume the viewers in our podcast right now are hardcore Counter-Strike fans, right? You wouldn't be here otherwise. You would only be here if you're a hardcore CS fan, or you really, maybe you have a crush on Prof, Strike, or myself, whatever. That could be cool too. But the point here is, you guys as hardcore Counter-Strike fans are giving us a result back here. Obviously, it's not a huge margin, but at least the majority of you think it's better this way. Now, I guess, do you think that because we're on the cusp of it? I'm sure you didn't think it was better during the drought of good events.
I think what people how they understood the question was that it made Cologne better than it would be if it wasn't like this. I think that's how people understand it. So
that's how I understood it as well. So I feel like that's kind of the point.
Okay, well that's cool, because I think we're all already hyped about Cologne, so that's not going to change too much. Do we have anything else that we want to throw in the bad category here, guys? Anything we want to rule out or talk about before we move to the ugly?
That depends on what you have reserved for the ugly.
I don't have anything. I just make stuff up as I'm going. It's a story.
Because I feel like I'm going to leave this for the ugly. I'm going to leave whatever I had in mind for the last part.
Okay, well, we will flick on over to the ugly. So the ugly here, one of the things that we did kind of talk about before at the top of this was the potential for upsets, right? So that could like really skew the bracket. Now, looking at this, I don't. It's hard for me to fathom a world where Astralis lose to Big and Liquid lose to MVP PK, right? It's really hard to fathom a world where that happens. And with those two as the two highest seeds, if one of them comes first and one of them comes second in their respective groups, right? Then like if let's say Liquid comes first in their group and Astralis comes second in theirs, they can't meet each other until the semifinals, right? Like for you guys who aren't aware how the bracket happens, obviously we want them to avoid each other, right? So like if Liquid came first in their group and Astralis came third in their group, they could also meet each other in the grand final. But if Astralis comes second and Liquid comes first, or Astralis then we could find ourselves in a bit of a messy situation for the semis. So that's like one ugly scenario that could happen here.
I think theoretically is like Vitality losing to NIP and ENCE losing to Heroic, so they would meet in the first elimination match of Group B. That is theoretically could happen.
I see a potential there for sure.
Could happen, but it shouldn't happen. But it could happen, and then people say, see, because of this is best of one, and this only happened because it's best of one, and not because ENCE lost or Vitality lost to a team that never played a match before. So
that's true. That could get ugly there.
Let's hope that doesn't happen, I guess, because those are the two teams that they're on the same side of the bracket, and you kind of want to see them both go further, potentially to the playoffs. Who knows?
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing.
I'm just kind of hoping that this is not the event where NiP just go ham for no apparent reason outside
Another
of just
Dubai.
It's something along those lines. That's a pretty decent reference actually for people who don't remember. That IP that was Exist going out. No, what am I thinking? Who was that? What was the change after that?
Wasn't it Freiburg? But they
Freiburg.
stuck with it. They stuck with the team because didn't they stay with the team because they were winning games? Isn't that what happened?
I'm trying to remember. Yeah,
I think
it was just prolonged.
Yeah, people were saying that was the last tournament with that lineup.
It was like it was meant to be. Right, talking to my colleagues and stuff about it, like it was done, and then they just went there and they had fun and they won. Like that. Well, they played well. That's the whole situation with it. So it's like that roster was meant to be done there. This is one of those like many. So yeah, you could have one of those situations where like Get Right just comes in and he has like no pressure on him or whatever, and he just starts fucking destroying everybody, right? Like
just Forrest just like gets one of his like days, where he like on the first couple of days just destroys Vitality and then somehow. And they just make the playoffs, and resulting in like one of those teams going out early, and then NIP not like the run actually not really meaning anything. So I'm kind of hoping that doesn't really happen, even though like I still love like NIP when they actually do well, because they're kind of exciting to watch when they do well. The problem is they don't really do it often, and it rarely means anything, like I said, in the future, because they just fuck up the next event. So yeah, that's kind of what I'm hoping is not going to happen. And at the same time, it would be kind of cool for it to happen. I guess that qualifies as the ugly.
What do you think about Taco's opping? Because he took over the second op in MIBR. Like Coldzera he has like 1% op kills or something like that, like meaningless number of op kills. And when we remember Coldzera, or when we think about any like top 5 player in the world, he's opping sometimes. Like it's very rare for a player to not at least be like a hybrid second op in the team if he's like a high fragger, just because the weapon is kind of OP at certain times in certain places.
Look at Naf or Nico or...
Yeah, I mean, I think like Magisk and maybe like Electronic or maybe the outliers in that.
Well, like Dupree does that, by the way, though. And he's kind of like around that level as well. Or he used to be.
But like most of them are going to be opping. And now Taco took over the role, and like individually, like his fragging didn't go up or anything. He feels like the same player and didn't really add any, like he took that role but didn't really do much for the team with it, I feel like.
I get why he picks it up, because some of the anchor positions he plays, sometimes having the AWP in that is good. I remember when he was doing it like Cobble platform and that kind of stuff. But I feel that it doesn't reap the same rewards as maybe what it once would have. It might be something that I guess Coldzera has to be the secondary AWP of this team, right? But Cold that relies heavily on Fallen being super fluid and instinctual. Fallen has to constantly be aggressive and moving around, and Cold is more of like the passive AWPer. So I get it. I get why Taco does it. I understand it. I get the logic, but look, at the same time, if the biggest issue, so these are the two issues that have been thrown at us from MIBR this year. The first one is there was too much travel, so they didn't have a time to practice. Okay, I can buy that one. That one I can get behind. Then the next one is that it's probably Lucas. Like if not Lucas. If we're looking at Phelps and him being replaced again, we're assuming it's a personality click that's not making sense, right? I know he wasn't fragging, but for them to have gone for this and then to make the change again so quickly, for me, that leads to it was a personality thing. So he doesn't get along. So if Lucas comes in and there's a better vibe in the team and things start clicking, then MIBR, I'm not expecting them to turn to form immediately. They've only had 2 weeks with Lucas, right? They practice in Montpellier. They had this week off here where I guess they could have gone anywhere in Europe to boot camp. And then they have Cologne. So like their expectation has like, for me, of what to expect, it's probably now on par with what I should have been expecting the entire time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I was thinking, fuck, there's this chance that they could get back to that level. But now my expectation is, okay, well, they have to integrate Lucas, they have to do this, they have to do that. They might change their game style a little bit. Now there's like, I actually have things that I can put in place. So what was the thing that you had put aside for this section, Striker?
Well, it was actually MIBR and them only having like a couple of weeks of practice with Lucas, because we expect that they're not going to be up to par, at least preparation-wise, with most of these other teams who have obviously have had their lineups for a long time, which is basically the case for everybody outside of Navi and this entire OK NRG as well. Actually fall into an IP, but that's more like a stand-in type situation at this point, I guess. So yeah, that's kind of what I had in mind, because yeah, I can see that it could fire them up, and the change just like actually working out. Maybe Fair is going to have a little bit of a resurgence now that he doesn't really have to split duties with some of the duties with Phelps. Obviously, it wasn't really the case that much, but there were some situations where he did. So maybe he's going to have a bit of a resurgence just based on that. I could see that happening. I just don't think they're going to go far anyway.
Prof, you got anything for this one? You got anything to add on that?
Nah, I'm good.
All right, cool. Well, all right, what we're going to do is we're going to open this last section up. I want Lucas, I want everyone, I have to look up this way to my screen. But if you viewers at home have any questions or anything that you would think are interesting to be discussed around for Cologne, throw them in there right now. We'll be giving you an opportunity. If I read any dumb questions where we have to theorize about something that we could literally have no idea about.
Can we make like predictions of who's going to make it to the playoffs at least from
each
group?
Do
because
that.
It's pretty. It's going to be. I think we're going to be fairly split.
Let's do this, Lucas. What I want you to do is I want you to be looking at some of these questions. If there anybody with half a brain cell in there who replies with anything good, you're going to read them out to us as we after this. But we're going to predict right now for all the viewers at home. So while you're reading the questions, Lucas, if you could bring up the bracket from Group A again. You can do multiple things, Lucas. I believe in you, all right? Just as long as the stream doesn't blow up, everything's good. So
a lot of questions about the NRG. I guess we can touch on them.
The thing is, we don't know anything, basically. Like, we have a general idea of how much they practice because they actually played in Pro League already with Stan, even though they played the actual tournament with Daps. That's as much as we know about NRG at this point. Like, we can theorize as to like what kind of impact Stan is going to have on the team, but I'm not entirely sure.
I'll say one thing about NRG. One of the things that, like, the last year they've been saying through interviews, and it wasn't really picked up that much, but Dav said it like 5 times at different events, that they have like a lack of discipline. Like a lack of discipline in game, out of the game. They lose Antico rounds because they have a lack of discipline. And as a player, as a person, I don't think like Daps is a mega, authoritarian leader in that regard. And the rest of the team seems like kind of a chill, trolly team. So I can see that being an issue.
I think I think he was saying that more along the lines of the play style being just that, like, they're pretty used to, going off individual plays and stuff like that, and relying on individuals, rather than it being an actual problem with like the individuals.
I think that there was an like in out of game like thing where maybe even in practice they were also sometimes just trolling around, not taking it so seriously. Then they kind of fixed that, and later on it went down. So I think that is the thing. If Stan can fix that, that would be pretty good. I'm not sure if he can. I don't know like the details of teams and players, but yeah.
Just quickly, a follow-up question which Lucas just pasted. I don't know who this is from in the chat, but said, what happens if NRG bomb out of this tournament? Do they blame blame oh, Stan, I thought that Stan. My eyes are terrible. I need glasses. I thought that said start from back here. Anyway, no, they don't. Because NRG basically have bought themselves, I don't know if you've seen that movie Hall Pass. It's probably rated M15+. It's to do with a married guy, and he's saying that he's, not too happy with the sex life, and then his wife gives him the Hall Pass to go out and fuck whoever he wants. Well, that's kind of what this is for NRG, right? Your expectations when you've just changed things, even though you had a good event in Montpellier, like you're going to be disappointed if you don't do good. But if it doesn't work out, you're like, it's still early days. We're still integrating this. We're still integrating that. Like if you literally see a massive fall off in form from Ethan and Breeze, then you go, hold up a second. How many?
Well, there has been some from Ethan actually. I just for people who are actually following my stock shifts, I've been kind of going through the numbers of everything, and Ethan is actually going to be one of the falling players. Because he hasn't had, like, his last 4 events have actually been fairly underwhelming, at least compared to the Ethan we know.
Sure. So in this situation, it'd just be, let's say, if Breeze dropped off a cliff.
Breeze is the big one for them, definitely.
Yeah, so that would be like, what positions is Stan taking, etc. That is from J. Kobe 69. Oh, dear. All right. Well, cool.
The good old 69.
69. He probably made that when he was 14. But I respect it.
Maybe he's born in 69. Who knows?
Yeah.
I was playing matchmaking with a guy. He had a nickname like something like 63, and it ended up being a guy that's like 50 years old, literally ex-Navy Spanish guy that actually lived in Croatia for 2 years and knew like five words in Croatian. It was pretty funny. It was like Dobar dan, and we beat everyone on Vertigo. It was pretty good. Good experience.
Okay.
All right. I like to hear it. So we're going to do these brackets on the screen, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to go through these, and then we're going to do the fantasy. And then if you guys have any questions, keep them coming. Lucas will keep an eye out, and we might pick them up. So this bracket right here, let's go through these, and we'll find out if anyone disagrees or agrees. Liquid versus MVP. Who wins that one? Liquid, we're all happy?
Liquid,
okay.
I think we can just go like top 3 teams.
All right.
Instead of going through.
Let's go top 3, yeah.
All right, give me your top 3 from this group, Striker.
Liquid. Thing is, I can't say mouse sports because they just meets Liquid, so they're going to be 3rd probably. But the second one from the other side, fuck man, that's a rough one actually. It's really hard to say out of those 4 teams. I'm gonna put my chips on Renegades just because they finally had some time to put everything together, and just kind of like get used to the lineup that they had before. Obviously, with all the problems that they had. Following the major, they didn't have time to practice. So now that they have, I obviously don't know about the background, how much they actually did practice, but I assume it was much more than they used to. So I'm hoping that they will be back to their former selves and make it to the playoffs there. So I'm going to put my money on them.
And the third? You said
and the third, Nemo Sports.
Okay. Strike.
I'll go Liquid Mouse Furia. Just because I'll bank on what I saw instead of what I think could happen.
I'm going to go with Liquid, FaZe, and Na'Vi. And I have absolutely no basis for this logic. I don't predict Renegades to win. I don't think Furia have a style that can work consistently for a lower bracket run like the gauntlet they're going to have to go to. If FaZe versus Mouse Sports again, I think that FaZe probably gets the better.
I mean, they don't have to go through the lower bracket. They just need to beat NRG and FaZe Renegades.
That's true. So yeah, we're going with Liquid, Na'Vi, and FaZe in that one. Bring up Group B, Mr. Lucas.
I have a bunch of questions here. What do you think about the map pool?
We'll wait that one out for a second. Okay, just quickly with this one, we'll reverse order. I'll go first this one. I think Astralis. I hope. It's not that I think. I hope it's Astralis, Vitality, and ENCE. Those 3 are clearly the best 3 teams in that group. Yeah. Like in the other group, it's not clear. This one here, in my opinion, is quite clear that it is Astralis, Vitality, and ENCE are the teams I'm looking for. Who you got, Prof?
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, some people were also complaining about like this group seems more stacked because there are like 3 of the 4 HLTV top 4 teams. but at the same time, the other teams are not that good. Like the rest of it looks kind
Like
of less.
NIP having your lineup. Heroic are obviously not a top 10 team or anything big, same thing. So yeah, the rest of this group is actually not that strong.
Yeah,
MIB are just
it's
changed
mostly
lineups.
about like if MIBR and Fnatic can play well, and then they can make this group kind of more interesting.
Yeah. I mean, if we were talking like peak, as in like their lineups peak, MIBR, Fnatic, and NIP, yes, this would have been a massively sick group. But this is not what we're talking about. Like none of MIBR, Fnatic, and NIP are anywhere at near their peak. So yeah, this is not such a hugely stacked group.
Let me just save you here just quickly, Striker. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, what Striker is saying here is he is saying that these teams normally have a very high skill ceiling, right? He's not saying that they can't have a very high skill ceiling. He's just saying recent history has shown that they have been playing pretty averagely. You know, they're not winning tournaments. They're like obviously it's a little bit dicey for these teams right now. He's not saying your teams are shit. He's just saying they're not performing to their highest capabilities to contend with 3 out of the top 4 teams in the world right now, or something along those lines.
Thank you.
Just so you guys can relax, okay? He's not going out after any of your teams, after any of your favorite players. He's just saying they're not on the same level as what we've seen recently from some of these other names. That's all we're saying. All right. So we've covered that off. Who do we think is going to take? Who? Let's give out the top 4. Let's go 1, 2, 3, and 4. Obviously, 3 and 4 are the same. So we'll go Prof. You go first this time. Who you got?
Like overall top 4?
Yeah. First, second, and then third.
I'll just say the fairy tale will not happen. I don't think. I think Liquid on paper are the favorites, but I don't think they'll pull it through. I don't think they'll pull through. I just don't. I don't have the feeling. I'll just say Astralis to take it, and then ends Vitality, even ends Mouse Sports and Liquid in the top 4, depending on how the bracket works.
Striker, who you got?
I last week I did say, or last episode, whenever we had that 5 days ago or whatever, I did say Liquid were gonna pull it through in 4, so I'm gonna stick with that. I will put Liquid as first. I can see why they wouldn't, just because of the change of an update. The meta is going to be slightly different because of the AUG and stuff. So it is going to make this tournament a little bit unpredictable based on that. But I still think Liquid are going to be the best team at this event, and they're going to pull it through in four events. Second, I am going to go with Astralis. I feel like, based on the same logic, Astralis weren't particularly great at this meta with the AUG, and they should be somewhere on the way back without it. I'm going to put Astralis as second. Hopefully their the lack of confidence hasn't really impacted them too much, and they will be able to pull it through. Third, fourth, I'm going to go with Mouse and Ants.
Okay.
What did you say? I was sending the fantasy draft
Liquid,
to other people.
Astralis, Mouse, Sports, Ants.
Yeah, so yeah, just same as okay.
No, he said yeah. I'm gonna
except
go.
the first one, yeah.
I'm gonna go. Liquid are going to win it, but they're going to lose a game in the group stage, and then they're going to have to go through the lower bracket. Number 2 is going to be Ants, and then third and fourth are going to be Astralis and. Ooh.
By the way, just what you said, Liquid are going to lose and go through the lower bracket. Who are they going to lose to? They're not going to lose to MVP. They have a really good track record against Navi, and they just destroyed Mouse Sports.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying, mate. When all the chips are in your corner, sometimes you fucking flop out your fucking 4 kings and they've got 4 aces. You know, that's the hands we're dealt in poker. Who was the other team? I said, yeah, let's fucking go FaZe.
Wait, what's your top 4 then?
Liquid winning.
Yep.
Ents second. FaZe and Astralis third, fourth.
Oh, okay.
And there it is.
FaZe, you have faith in FaZe?
Yeah, man. They'll get their shit together. Maybe not.
I'm still torn. Like, based on the last performance, I would never put my money on them because, like, they obviously can get destroyed by basically like a top 10 team.
Anyone at this tournament.
Yeah.
Well, I'm just trying to pander towards
some
of these newer fans.
This last event was pretty shit for them. I think this last event was more shit than people actually realize for FaZe.
Yeah.
because they only beat Tai Lu, and that was one good half, one bad half on Vertigo. Then they beat North with the last game going into overtime, a best of 3 series, like all 3
By the way,
maps.
them dropping a 12-3 lead as well.
Yeah, and then they lost. I think they had like 16-10, 16-8 on 2 maps against Mouse and G2. So they or they 16-12. So they averaged like 10 rounds, lost 4 maps in a row. Like, not the greatest tournament. And they finished 5th to 6th, which seems not that bad, but honestly, their performance was pretty bad.
Sorry, I'm just organizing something with Lucas here. Sorry, guys.
No problem.
Can you share that, Lucas?
Did you send the fantasy invite to?
Okay.
To whoever you want.
That's right. He's not coming. We're just doing it with us. We're going to do the fantasy draft in 3 minutes, everybody. So you've heard what we think about Cologne. We might answer some questions towards the end if you want to keep them coming, or maybe we just won't answer anything at all. But Lucas is going to bring up the thing with the boosters. So one of the two of you who should probably talk about this, because I haven't even had a chance to really read into it just yet.
I'll give so boosters are similar to roles, but they're different. That's the starting point, because you apply them to a single player, but they're not a thing as roles, but you just apply at the beginning and then never touch again. Boosters, you apply a booster to a single player in a single game. So the point is to have something to come back to, and then after every day you come in and maybe you put in something for a specific player, and so it's a bit more interactive during the whole event. So the whole thing, you have 14 boosters, each of which you can use only once, and they also don't have a minus, so you can't go negative if it doesn't work out for you. It's just it can go +10 or 0. So it's just a kind of a fun thing that can impact the points you get, but not a lot. That's kind of the gist of it.
Okay, so it's just basically you going on every day, not just doing it and forgetting and then checking it afterwards.
Yeah, that's the kind of the point.
Okay, so we're doing it with the 4 of us again. So
I have actually a few people that I sent invites to. Neil M is in. He's in. I had we have Keita joining as well.
Oh, okay.
This is good news.
Via Neil M. I had a couple of other people. I'm not sure if they're around now, so we'll see. We'll see who joins in. Then we're starting in a couple of minutes.
Yes, that's in 1 minute.
Maybe we can get one person from chat. Can we randomly select a person from chat and give them the invite?
All right. Well,
would that be too much?
It wouldn't be too much. I think just would leave. Okay, leave Lucas in charge of this one right here.
Can we just? What's the time? 1 minute 30.
There's a few candidates to just pick one. There's a bunch of people who just wrote me.
Let's just. Is there a sub? No sub. Fuck.
We have a single sub. We have one sub, but I don't think he's here this time.
Fuck. This is hard.
All right, make sure you're logged in, guys, because you're gonna need to fucking join this straight away. Whose name did I like here? People are spamming this a lot.
I literally cannot see. Here he is, Antelope guy. Fuck.
Oh, he is here? Oh, he's here.
Yeah.
Go for it.
I cannot whisper.
30 seconds.
Can someone whisper?
We're against the clock.
It shows me 1 minute. I don't know about you.
Oh, well, that's not good that we're on different times.
I don't know how.
I can see 52 seconds in the draft.
We left it up to Lucas here, so it doesn't matter.
Lucas is.
Okay, so let's hope he can. His internet is quick. Right now, there's only my team and 3 others. That's it. So we didn't.
2, 3, 5. You just need to refresh. You need to refresh.
Oh, okay. Here we go. Oh, he didn't make it.
I have 6.
At least we tried.
20 seconds left. It's 20 seconds left.
It's done for me.
I think if it's like the draft actually starts like 30 seconds after the thing closes.
We'll see. Doesn't matter.
All right.
It doesn't matter. I'll only sub.
We tried. Next time we'll organize this one. Okay, so for those of you who aren't aware, what we do is we draft. This is the snake draft. So I don't want to see any of you fucking cunts tweeting at fucking prof and going, why didn't you pick simple? Maybe he didn't have a choice. Maybe he couldn't pick simple.
This is not the money league, yeah.
Okay, so first pick is Neil. Second pick is Keita, who's coaching fucking Complexity now, apparently. And we got Prof.
Lucas,
we got
Lucas,
striker.
how can you fuck this up?
Lucas, you're in the best position.
Look, next time I'll invite you. We'll make up
Did
for
he
it next
not
time.
join? The producer did not join.
No, he did.
He's in.
He is there.
Okay, we're good.
Lucas has Neil has
Neil
20
is picking
seconds.
and he hasn't really he
Oh,
hasn't
dear.
really said anything. So just
He did have a wild team last time, so he
shit.
actually picked
fuck.
simple.
Why wouldn't you? That's the question.
Here
Wait,
goes
how did I-
Aiwu.
Where's the order? Oh, there we go. I'm the fourth.
Okay. This is like the best players are already out, so who do you
Yeah,
pick? Do you
get
pick? You get a Nico.
you get the
get
next
a Nika.
best. That you just okay, all right.
I just got a Nico. Why did I not pick someone from Liquid?
I don't know. What were you thinking?
I don't know. I don't know. It's getting hot because I turned off my AC because I was like, I don't know.
Striker really thinking hard about this one. Has device pre-selected and we'll lock him in there.
Yeah.
Virtual now
I'm
stepping up
still
to the
gonna
plate.
get somebody from Liquid, so I think at least. So that's my thinking.
Go.
Lucas here, 2 picks up his sleeve. Gets to choose between any Liquid player on the board. And we'll be going with Ellie Giggle. And
Getting a
follows
Danish player
through
as
here
well.
with a Magisk boy. Not necessarily.
Pretty good.
Virtual, straight into electronic. Not
You really
messing around.
left me NAF? Really?
Well, I was going to go NAF, but I thought electronic, maybe he'll fuck some shit up. Maybe he won't, Who knows?
Good shit.
Okay.
Good shit.
I guess my strategy worked out then.
Back with Prof here.
Somebody
That's
just-
a choice.
Somebody
I
else
already
is trying to-
fucked everything, honestly. Let's fucking go, boys. Oh. I have 20 seconds.
Well,
We'll be locking in Dupree here. People forgetting about some of these other names who sneak their way on through, but that's all right.
there's still. Look, how many of us are there? 5, 6.
Yeah,
We're only going to pick 30 players out of 80, so.
Neil and Kita just picked the 2 best players in the world, so that kind of fucking sucks a bit.
Zero is kind of a decent player as well. Is he gonna lock him in though?
People who don't know, like Kita, he did some stuff for Face It, like observery wise, and obviously he's been doing lots of stuff in the UK Counter-Strike team for some time. And Neil, for those of you who don't know, is now the Neil coaching Greyhound. So just in case you guys weren't aware of who.
Also,
we're talking
Kita
about.
is reportedly in talks with Complexity.
Or
Pretty sure he
actually
was-
coaching?
Yeah, he's probably already just doing it.
Yeah. The talk thing was going on for some time. Neil M. back doing business. Who will he do business with now?
I'm just
The
hoping
thing
nobody
is,
picks
man, after you get simple, like it's a lot of picks happen before you pick again. So
That's true. Like, you're only left with 2 Liquid, 2 Astralis players. Maybe you can pick one. Maybe he's a good differential pick,
There's
like
still
a
a lot
Glaive or
of
Zipnix.
good picks up. Like,
Oh,
this-
there are.
They're
There
not.
are.
Yeah.
5 seconds.
Here we go. It's gonna be
There you go,
cold there.
zero.
it's a safe pair of hands. It won't.
But now he gets 2. So
Oh yeah, he
that's
gets another
awesome.
one.
Neil now 38 seconds left on the clock. Has a big decision to make here. Nobody pre-selected. We'll be musing his choices up and down as now we will tick below 30 seconds. Pressure starting to mount. Where will he go with this one? How much time will he leave on the clock? Damn, Twitch chat. I don't know how Twitch chat didn't feel good about. Is that a good emoji? I don't know the fucking.
I mean, PogChat.
Ooh, JKS.
Oh, I did not expect him to go that early, honestly. I was hoping to get him maybe later on.
I was thinking the same way. Oh, fuck
Fuck
you.
You think I'm going for Woxic? I could. Now I really want an Opper. And do I want Alu or do I want Woxic?
Well,
Woxic.
Ents have an easier opening game, I guess.
That is true. And they have a better group overall.
Look, whoever you're gonna pick, I'm probably gonna pick the other one. So
Fuck it. I'll actually... 16 seconds.
decisions.
Fuck it.
Thank you very much. I wanted Alu from the start. Although, like, now it's just like it hovered ROPS for me, and I'm like,
He had one bad game.
thing is, I already have an upper, so maybe I'm actually not gonna go for all of them. And well,
What about stacks?
I guess the other thing is
yeah,
like
that's nobody from MVP is getting picked.
Ents potentially
How
have
much is
like
that?
an
26.
easier first game. Their second get like if you pick somebody from Mouse, they have to play Navi and then into Liquid. So
That's
there's
true.
like
Kind of fair.
That is true.
Oh fuck!
But then they get to like beat someone in the lore. But like
Fuck it.
he
I'm
gets
gonna
a
go with that
style on MVP PK if they lose.
I can always put like in-game leader on device instead of an upper.
I just talked you out of that. I wanted Rops the whole time. So
I mean, I was
glad I got you out of there.
I was
Honestly, it's worth getting like multiple oppers because you can just use the entry fragger roll on an opper and you get the like they get most of the entries anyway.
Lucas's team looking very interesting here.
He did Chris J. That's a ballsy move. It's not a ballsy move, but
Lucas, you should pick Lucas because he also has the same name. I tried.
What do you mean? Like he has a golden frame.
yeah.
Like that must mean he's good.
He's Lucas 1, you can be Lucas 2.
He's Lucas with a K. You can just be that.
Lucas 1 with a K.
You just got hovered Lucas just because of what you just tried to do.
Ups. So Sponge, do you think JKS can make the top 20 list this year?
You need to like have his same level of performances at every event to do so, right? Because Renegades don't get every event. So
I mean, currently he's 8th best big event player of the year. 114 rating, I think.
Well, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
They have been at most of them, if I'm not mistaken. Like, sure, the blasts they weren't. Oh, I'm picking. Okay,
That blast event could be really good for them. LA could be really good for Renegades, actually.
Yeah, that's true.
And Chicago as well.
Right,
No one's picking Lucas.
I'm not gonna pick.
Why is your team called this? I just saw this.
Beta males.
Oh, mine?
Yes.
I don't know. I just liked it. Actually, kind of tightening. I'm not entirely sure who I want to pick.
Apex is still available.
Boomich.
Yeah, that's one of the ones
Ariel.
I was looking at.
Get Right gonna have a insane
Yuri,
performance.
Quesarado.
I like the Apex idea.
I'm shit talking you guys instead of actually thinking about
That's
what
the
I
thing.
want
Like
to pick.
I was just like, there's so many players now that there's too many options at this point to go through.
That's
No, Mr. No.
plus.
Prof is
Mr.
ahead at this point. He doesn't want to do that.
Here it is. 20 seconds remaining. Prof now. Big decisions to make. We'll go for Glaive here.
They actually do go for Glaive. That's surprising.
Boys.
There we go.
And still we expect.
Liquid are gone.
All of Neil's guys have the same pose.
I mean, we make the players have the same pose when we do
Oh, really?
profile pictures.
Oh
Yeah.
wait, all the teams have the same. I just realized that.
Not all of them. The thing is, like, some of them are actually sent to us, so not all of them have the same ones. But
Okay.
the profile pictures we take, we actually make. I think this is the
There's
one we
only-
make them do.
Lucas isn't folding his arms, and Boomich isn't obviously Boomich.
Just,
isn't folding
just
his.
as far
someone
as-
please
as far
highlight
as-
Blame F when he comes in. Like, what are these hands? Like, it's so
Astras have their heads behind their back,
Acer
not in front.
Seen the thing with Blame F when he's sitting there next to Nato Safix, and like Blame F's fucking arm is like the size of Nato Safix's head, and the Nato Safix has little pencil arms like me. So it's like these fucking toothpicks,
Holy
the things we
shit.
carry around.
Blame F is like fucking. What is it? What is it called in English?
like when he goes into the
like
forest and chops fucking
No.
shit up. Why does
No, the guy who
Neil
eats
get the
spinach.
first and then the last two players as well?
The guy who eats spinach and is like has a
Popeye.
massive head. Oh, there you
Popeye.
go, Popeye. That's
Classic.
what Blame F reminds me of.
Zupniks. No one going big on these ends, guys, though I must say they usually do kind of shit in fantasy because they're
like,
kind of...
and Sergey do well pretty much
Yeah.
always, and then the rest are like up and
Not
down
really
season.
well, they do okay. I think for like money drafts, they're not good, but for these drafts, they are. I'll go fucking... Can I highlight? How do you highlight something? I don't... it happens.
If you just click on it, I think it's just hovers.
Look at this. Look at it. Look at how fucking huge those are.
Compared to Glaive, like
look at Glaive. That shit.
Look at Glaive compared to Glaive.
I'm going triple Astralis just because you allowed me.
Compared to Glaive. Oh fuck! Why is it like it keeps hovering Lucas just because he has a golden fish?
Yeah, he has the
he has the stats.
Biggest, the best stats. But because
it's only because he played MIBR and then just like had a really good stats against them. But it's like big event, isn't it? Big event the last 3 months.
Yeah, and they only played one, and
I'm talking and I'm not thinking.
18 seconds now. Striker putting himself under pressure. One more player to find. Has Device, Snaf, Alu, and Apex locked on in, but this last picker could be everything.
Who will be the 5th beta male to join this exquisite lineup?
I'm gonna go on a somewhat. It's like a fucking third upper that I have, so I'm not. I think I fucked up there, but I'm. Fuck it.
You still have Guardian and Fallen not selected. You went in for Guardian.
Oh, Guardian, bye-bye.
Well done.
Did you go Luke? Did you really pick
actually
Lucas?
Got Lucas?
He picked Lucas. I don't know. Not that bad. Like, my Nico pick was retarded, but maybe it's not. He's still a sick player, so we'll see.
You still got 3 Astralis players. If we were doing this at the start of the year, Astralis players would have been gone like instantly. Yeah. All right, can we get the people to vote, Lucas, from 1 to 6 on who they think is gonna take this out of all the teams here? Obviously, I think everyone's just gonna vote for fucking Neil's team because he has simple.
Yeah, I'm assigning bros. That's the thing. Like, I have 3 uppers, and I have to kind of figure out how I want to do this.
So for the boosters thing, just one tip for the players. I mean users, future users. So every booster has something like, I don't know, let's say 16-0. A player's team wins a map 16-0. All of these boosters are most likely better used in best of 3s because then it can apply to any of the 3 potential 2 or 3 maps that are played. And if it's a best of 1, it can only apply to that one.
I think the 16-0 is so fucking useless because it happens so
but it doesn't matter. But let's just say if only one map of the 3 is a 16-0, you still get the booster like correct, let's say.
All right, well, the people at home are voting right now, 1 to 6. I guess we're going from top of the page down, right, Lucas? Oh, okay, you did too. Okay, so right now, Lucas is actually second. Keita is first. Prof, Striker, Neil, and then myself. People, what's wrong with my team?
I don't know what's wrong with my team.
I've got fucking Twists. The cunt's fucking sick. I've got Electronic. I put him in the entry fragger role. I got Twist on headshot percentage role. I got Rops as my defender role because he's a fucking absolute gun on anchoring bomb sites and locking shit down. I got Nitro on the supportive because he's the in-game leader, which means he knows how to throw literally every single smoke, flash, Molotov, HE, fucking everything in the entire game to get the supporting fucking thing from, being assisting in the KAST percentage, so he should be high up there. And then I've got Guardian on the AWP role. This cunt, when he goes into tournaments, is like 90% of his kills are fucking AWPs. Oh, you can't see my team, that's why. Lucas is he's sandbagging me.
Where's Keita? I'm trying to figure out, I would go into it, but...
Keita's team is... Keita has a pretty good team. He's got Zywu, he's got Sergey, he's got Breeze, he's got Stewie, and he's got Ethan.
That's actually really good. Fuck.
He's got like a really bunch of just young fraggers. Really.
That's zero. I mean, Zywu is an opera, yeah.
So right now,
that's
Keita,
actually a really good team. I kind of like the.
Here's Keita's roles, just for everybody. He has Zywu as AWP. He's got Sergey as Clutch King. He's got Breeze as attacker. He has Stewie as leader of it, which is smart, and he hasn't given a role just yet to Ethan. He has now.
I'm trying to figure out, like, I have so many like aggressive people on my team. Like, Device is the only like non-aggressive player basically. I could have like entry Fagger on any of the other 4 basically, and even on Device because he's a fucking opera and he gets a lot of entry kills anyway.
Well,
Of course, just crying for votes, literally crying.
So that's probably how I win.
That's democracy for you. That's how it works.
What did Neil end up with after all this? So he picked Simple, then he got Cold, still got away with JKS in there.
In the chat, he said that Renegades are putting in the hours in EU, that we are sleeping on Renegades. So we'll see.
Well, I spoke to Gomez yesterday.
To the playoffs, so.
Spoke to Gomez yesterday, and I said, like, how are you guys feeling? And about Praken, they're all good. Like, I think that it's just they're in a much harder group, right, than that bottom group. Like, I think the level of teams in that group are quite tight in how like compact some of these games could be. Okay, so if you're in chat, send in the last couple of questions now. We might answer them, we might not. It's 1 past 10, so we're going to be shutting this one down very shortly. If you guys want to listen to the podcast, anchor.fm/HLTV for the audio-only version. Anyway, what were we going to say, Prof?
There's a question from earlier, might be a stupid question, but how does your perfect CSGO map look? One that is already in the map pool, mostly CT or T-sided, etc., etc. That is producer Lucas' question. I thought it was someone from chat. What do you think about that one, Spudge?
I think that the problem with talking about a perfect map is that it will always change, because the game, like Mirage and Dust 2 and Cache, are all maps that, in my mind, are pretty much figured out by everybody. Everyone knows how to play them. That's why they're the most popular in Pugs, because everybody has the basic puzzle-solving capabilities for those maps. Oh, if they take this part, we do this, we can do these boosts, these are the one-ways, everything's figured out. So I think that those maps are actually some of the best maps in Counter-Strike. The problem is we need subtle changes to those maps every so often to keep them fresh. Like things like, I talk about this all the time, like Dust 2 B doors being turned around the other way, because that'll change things more than you all might imagine. It'll be able to force CTs to play more heavy mid presence, things like that. Like on Cache, maybe when the CTs jump out of mid, they can't actually get back through mid, like little changes like that. So it's a difficult one for me to talk about. I just think that variation is good because it forces people to think, and it forces people to innovate. I was talking to Zeus after the Pro League finished, and we were talking. This is Zeus from MIBR, and we were talking. He's like, I like Vertigo because it allows me to innovate in my job, which is something I think is overlooked. But that's a part of the game that we don't really get to see because most maps are figured out. You guys got any takes on this whole mapping situation?
Yeah, I think what you said about the small changes is a good thing, because for me, Mirage is one of the best maps, and some people might not like it, but I think the things that they didn't do a lot of changes, but one of the changes that was done, I think, almost 2 years ago now, was just removing the skyboxes, or the majority of the skyboxes, and then that allowed for a lot of different smokes to be thrown, and that changed the meta a lot with like the top connector smoke coming into play. That was, I think, the biggest change, and from that, a lot of how Mirage is played has been changed, and that's why I think it's still, maybe not today, maybe some people think it's kind of stale, but I think it's still pretty interesting as a map.
I personally am not a massive fan of the way kind of both Mirage and Dust 2 work. Well, more Dust 2 than Mirage a lot, just because of how split it is in 2 halves basically, and how easy it is for T-side to cut off one from the other, basically. So that's like one factor that I would not like on a map. So I don't necessarily hate Dust 2 or anything, or dislike it. I still like to play it, or I still like to watch it. It's just like, in terms of a perfect map, I don't think that should be a factor, because then it makes the balance really weird and kind of non-existent, and really based on like momentum plays and stuff like that, which kind of is the case on Dust 2. Mirage is a little bit similar, I guess, but not that much.
I mean, when you think about Dust 2, there are some maps, like some games on Dust 2 that become complete like save fests. Yeah. People complain about Vertigo being, you hit the site and the other team has to save. The only difference is that on Vertigo you don't really have any place to save. Dust 2 is so big that you actually can save but it kind of similar. There is a similar feeling when someone hits B on Dust 2 and they just like go in with 3 people, get the trade. You can't do anything. That's GG boys. Just go into long pit and just save. So that is a kind of a thing that I don't like, but what can you do?
I mean, it's the same on Inferno, kind of, especially with the B side and specifically, because that's just like when somebody gets like a really early opening and you get the entire side for it. Like it's not uncommon for the other team to just save in 4 people. Just save for V5. So that's one of those factors that I'm not particularly fond of. So like I guess in that sense, like I like open maps and I like maps where it's not as hard to retake as it is on a Dust 2, for example, on Dust 2 B side, or even Inferno B side, I guess.
And, it also comes down to like the rotations on the CT side being so long.
Yeah, for sure.
Did you have? I think we cut you off on something or not?
No. We're good.
I wanted to say just one more thing. One more thing that I don't like about maps is them being T-sided. Not like balanced T-sided, but just like vertigo style, which it is now. Because it doesn't play well in terms of economy for the CT side. It just forces the CT side to save even more, so you actually don't get a lot of action. It seems like you get 1 kill traded on a bomb site, then instantly the other team is forced to save because the probability of winning the round is low as it is, and then you go into 4v5, then the probability goes even lower, and you need to eco 2 times to buy all of the shit that you need to have utility to get map control. So there are not a lot of T-sided maps in CSGO. There are some maps that were at certain times, but I think we don't have them, and I think there's a reason because it's just not fun to...
Cobble was one of those maps, right? That was T-sided for a long period, and you just found yourself, you would have like, you're fighting ecos a lot of the time, and like, the economy is not as snowball as it is now, and the way things are, Cobble, the way it was, would play out very differently because you have a lot more shotguns, you have a lot more everything to play those close ranges. But yeah, I think like a T-sided map, it kind of, if you want to do a T-sided map, you should just do a fucking hostage map. You know, I know that seems like almost ridiculous, but there's a reason that the game is designed that the Ts are the ones attacking and the CTs have the advantage of the position. Like, if we had to retake bomb sites every single time, the thing is, the way that Counter-Strike has evolved over the last couple of years, people have such a crazy understanding of what needs to happen now that everything is just super difficult and locked down. So yeah, I think ideally for me, a new map every year, like, or a new map, like 2 maps every year, so we could do like after every major cycle 1 map goes out. Or like, let's say we've spoken about this before, but like, let's say we had a map pool of like 9 or 11 maps and they just cycled in and out. And players knew it was coming after every major, and that was just the way it went. But yeah, I think we're probably done, guys. You guys happy?
Yeah, I mean, just to actually answer the question from my side, because I kind of said more like what I dislike about maps rather than what I would prefer. But what I kind of implied there was, I would love the perfect map to have like a good balance between both strategic like capabilities, where there's a lot of like setup executes to be had, and at the same time where there's like options for individual plays and just for crossfire setups for the CTs. So I would just like a map where it's very well balanced between all of those factors, between like individual play and between strategies or between crossfires, CT setups and stuff like that. It's a fairly vague answer, I guess, but I feel.
So either Mirage or Overpass.
Overpass is actually kind of good in that sense.
Yeah,
it's true.
Overpass is
like
the best map probably.
Overpass I kind of like in that sense for sure. Yeah.
The way that Overpass plays out now, I like it better than it used to be when it was just push CTs back and execute onto a bomb site. CTs now take a lot more gamble stacks, they're a lot more willing to fight, they have a lot more moves, they know when they need to play for information. So I never used to like Overpass, but in terms of all the layers to it, I think it's probably the most tactical. It has it has the ability or the capability as well to always have X factor moments, because the flanks are always possible if someone overlooks a small detail. So yeah, I think Overpass is probably the best.
It's a bitch to play kind of without like having a good team. Yeah. Without having a good team, it's a bitch to play Overpass on both sides.
And like, maybe that's why it's the best map, because it requires some of the most skill. Like Nuke is difficult, obviously T-side as well, right? But if you're versing another team that doesn't really know how to play Nuke, then it just becomes a scrim fest. Top rushes, outside scrimmy picks, all that kind of shit.
Yeah. kicking
Yeah.
doors.
Overpass is
best.
like the anti-Dust 2, basically. Like, it's hard to play with mixes, I feel like.
All right, boys, we're going to shut this one down. I mentioned it before, but I'll mention it again. Anchor.fm/HLTV to get the audio version of this podcast. We'll be checking back in after this. We don't have a date confirmed just yet, but we could probably do Monday or Tuesday after Cologne.
Yep.
So we'll probably bring it in one of those 2 days. We'll confirm that pretty soon. Maybe get you guys start sending in some questions a little bit earlier. But yeah, we've got the Twitter. Prof's sending that now. You can see the Anchor.fm link. Yeah. Thank you for tuning in again. Thank you for being fans of Counter-Strike. And we hope you enjoy Cologne as much as what we will. We'll see you guys later. Thank you for tuning in to HLTV Confirmed. Good night.